all Americans watching tonight, the greatest retribution will be our success. Success not just for ourselves, but for our grandchildren and our children. Under President Donald J. Trump, the swamp will be drained. America will be respected. Our cities will be safe. Our streets will be clean. And our border will once again be secure. Have peace. We will have prosperity. Your hard-earned tax dollars will enrich a better America, not be squandered in corrupt foreign nations. Education will be handed back to the state.
Hey guys, welcome to Under God Project Podcast. Today we accelerate America to be one nation under God again. Yeah, we didn't time that very well this time, but that's okay. It's just us. It's just us doing the production, guys. So today we are really excited because there's really a lot going on in our nation. I think everybody can just feel it. And so first of all, we want to introduce our guest and talk a little bit about that. But then we're gonna jump right into what we're streaming, why we're streaming today. So we're streaming on the President Trump's Republican National Convention speech. So before we get there, let me introduce to you our guest. Our guest today is Eric Ricard. Eric Ricard is the owner and chief editor for Andrew Magazine and a variety of other things. Tomorrow we'll be filming it, but then we'll be broadcasting it another day. We'll be broadcasting another day a little bit more about his family history, his experience, etc. But let's bring him on the podcast and let him say hello. So Eric, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There you go. Thank you, Eric. It's good to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's good to see you both.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Can you hear Jen now?
Is my voice loud and clear?
Yes.
Yay, loud and annoying. We're good. All right.
It's good to see you. Okay, so today we're broadcasting the President Trump's Republican National Convention speech. So we're doing that for a couple of different reasons. We've just had the assassination attempt, and we can clearly see that the hand of God, the hand of providence in our nation. Guys, we've been here before. All throughout history, we've had different types of assassination attempts and survivals. And right now we have, and right now we can definitely clearly see that God has preserved Trump for such a time as this and preserved President Trump for the betterment of our nation. There's very few people in the world that I would like to chat with this about than Eric Ricard, and we're really excited to have him. Eric, do you want to say what would you like to share before we go ahead and get started? Eric Trump right now is still having his very rousing speech. He's still going with his great stuff.
I have it here on my screen. As we are meeting, I'm kind of watching the convention. My wife is actually there, so she's texting me from there. But yeah, we live in extraordinary times, and I guess. I'm fortunate enough to have lived long enough to have seen great times in America and some really desperate times in America. And a lot of what brought us together tonight was the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And it really brought to my mind the assassinations that I'd seen in my lifetime, dating back to John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert, and Martin Luther King, and several others that have been attempted. So I think it's really a time for our nation to reflect upon those atrocities and how they bring us together, but they also are frightening to those of us who have not been through it. And so this is a great time for the three of us and your audience to get together to talk about that.
Thank you so much. We're picking up some feedback from Eric Trump's speech when you go to talk as well. So watch out for that. We're seeing that come in a little bit, and it kind of goes a little bit over, but it's actually quite rousing while you're talking. You know, we've got Eric Trump in the back saying "fight, fight, fight." So it's just it's such it's so great to hear that right behind your voice. So just watch out for that when we're continuing. No, I can't see what's really. Is he done yet? Oh, they're doing the transition right now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us. What we're gonna do right now, so we haven't done a live watch in the past. This is our first live watch, so everybody bear with us as we kind of go through it. But we'll try to kind of take a step back a little bit as we all pay attention and listen together. We do want you to be able to see our reactions, some of our live reactions, and so if you catch a little bit more commentary than you would expect, first of all, Newsmax and Blaze TV and News Nation and a whole bunch of other ones are broadcasting it live. So if any of that's distracting, you're welcome to jump on and then come catch the analysis with us afterward. I don't think we'll pause it at any particular time unless something major happens. But for now, we appreciate you guys being with us, and I think we can. Let's do this. Let's flip over to the screen all. There should be a screen all.
Nope.
Did I not put the button in? I didn't put the button in. Okay. Okay, so that's, why don't you go ahead and step back. There you go. I have to put the button in. I made the
button
thing,
is helpful.
but I didn't make the button. Hang on,
Whoops.
I'm making the button. One second.
It's difficult being the host and the studio engineer.
At the same time.
That's typically how it goes.
Yeah, it's typically how that goes. Okay, I want to hit that for us again.
Okay, let's try it again.
Okay, there we go. Look at that. See, we're in the Brady Bunch now.
I am going to make an adjustment, so just sit still. Keep staring awkwardly at the screen.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this button here. And I'm going to go right. Okay, I just muted it, but I wanted to turn it down a little bit.
You're
Okay,
way
that should be
far
good.
over, by the way.
I'll fix that in just a second. Okay. And we're gonna go live. Does that sound a little bit better for you, Eric? I don't know if you can hear that. You can't hear that, can you?
Here at the broadcast.
Okay, you're catching the live broadcast. Got it.
I see the live broadcast on my side, but I'm not hearing the sound on your side.
You're not hearing the sound on our side? Okay.
That's typical
fine.
for
Yeah,
the
that
broadcast,
is.
unfortunately.
That's pretty typical. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where are you going?
I'm lining up.
Okay. Fair enough.
Do I need to?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, so they're still doing their stuff. So let's flip over here, and we'll jump
Go
into
ahead.
I should put a guest all in there. You know what I'm gonna do? Check this out. We're gonna leave that the way that it is. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna mute it, and we'll let it roll. And then when we're ready to come back, when it comes back, then we'll come back. How's that sound, everybody? Yeah, we're recording. We're good. Okay, cool. Well, we could talk a little bit more about kind of what we're seeing. Honestly, guys, I think that we're seeing a real, somewhat of a spiritual awakening with President Trump, with the whole MAGA movement, kind of all at the same time. Eric, what have you noticed about President Trump's demeanor since the assassination? I mean, I think we've all kind of seen it, but I wanted to kind of get your thoughts.
My thoughts when I saw both the moments after he was shot, my thoughts were when he rose up off the platform and the Secret Service were surrounding him, that it seemed as though his defiant nature, his natural defiant nature, emerged through that fist pump into the air. But if you looked at his face, what I saw was a person who actually was having a moment with God, who in an instant knew that he was living his life at that moment, somewhat on borrowed time. That a providential hand had saved his life, and I think he knew that at the moment. So, as I've watched him over the last few days, and I've heard from people at the convention, they seem to be conveying the same sentiment, that he's no less certain and defiant, but he is very much reflecting on his life and I think he's actually beginning to understand why his life was spared. What is he here for? So that's my take.
I agree. I don't know him. I've never met him personally like you guys have. But it's really hard not to see kind of a baptism, right? Like a change from the because he had been, there had been assassination warnings before where they had to rush him off stage, but not that close, not like that, and clearly not that not that intense. Let's jump in here because it looks like there's going to be the intro. Let's jump in. I'm going to take a back seat a little bit. I'm going to go on mute for a little bit, and we'll jump in. How's that sound?
Yeah. Great.
Okay. Let's go.
This beloved city.
I have to say, it's great to see Melania again.
It
is
a story
yeah.
about putting his country
absolutely.
First.
I loved her
It's a
energetic
story
smile just
best
now. It was
told
in
awesome.
pictures.
Yeah. Really great.
Young and confident, Donald Trump
Well,
wasn't
if
afraid
it comes
to
down to
think
Joe
big
Biden
and
or
build
Melania, I know
even
who I'd
bigger.
rather see as president.
And he left his mark on the New York skyline.
Melania has class.
that greeted visitors
Right?
Yeah.
She's got class.
from
She's
around
got
the
tact.
I would highly
But he
approve of
wasn't
that
just an
decision.
American entrepreneur.
Elegance,
He
style,
became
beauty,
a folk hero.
intelligent. I mean,
Celebrities and
it-
sports
it
stars
really
wanted to be
is
seen with him.
impressive.
Everything you want,
Politicians
yes,
sought his
in a,
approval.
especially in a first
And New
lady, somebody that
Yorkers
actually
just
does
loved
something you
it.
want to
And
exemplify.
he
So.
loved them back, and he gave back.
And let's not
Just one
forget,
example.
English is not even her
Saving
second
the
language.
women's
It's like her
skating
fourth
rink.
language.
Yeah.
The
It's very
Walnut
impressive.
Skating Rink in Central Park is open again. The city spent nearly 6 years and $12 million trying to fix it. And then to the rescue, developer Donald Trump. As Tracy Egan tells us now, he accomplished in 3.5 months what the city couldn't do in 6 years.
Donald, you performed a great public service.
There was no denying that Donald Trump was the toast of the town. But he was also something even more important, a patriotic American. And like many others, he was becoming increasingly troubled by the direction of our country.
Because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off.
But who would ever run for president and leave such a glamorous life? Appearances in movies, best-selling books, a widely popular TV show. But for Donald J. Trump, the calling to save his country was even stronger. The mission, more important. The number of Americans being left behind, too large. And so, in Donald Trump fashion, he announced he was running for president, in it to win. And he did.
From his first day in office, the Washington politicians learned something about President Trump. He's not afraid to fight for what he believes in. They call that having the courage of your convictions. First up, the Trump tax cuts, largest in America's history, and it led to higher take-home pay for working families. Unfortunately, today, taxes are up and incomes down. The politicians just never learn. Next for President Trump, secure our border. Check. Miles and miles of wall built. ISIS and other terrorists deterred. But now, we have the Barney Fife of border security, leading to 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl coming in. Brutal migrant crime spreading across America. And ISIS now here. President Trump promised he'd keep America out of endless wars. Welcome words to the families of our young men and women who serve. And another promise kept. He started by strengthening our military, then traveled the world, meeting with our allies, and even with our main adversaries. Just so they understood that America's strength and resolve was back. Because that's what a strong commander-in-chief does. And it led to a stable world at peace and our troops safe. Today, a different story. Our enemies smelled weakness, then set the world on fire. Putin saw it, then invaded Ukraine. Hamas saw it, then started a war in the Middle East. There's one more thing we've learned about President Trump. He believes so strongly in America, so optimistic for our possibilities, and so committed to fighting to once again make our country great, that there is nothing that is going to stop him.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kid Rock.
What up, America? If you're ready for President Trump to take the stage, I need everybody to stand up. I need everybody to put a fist up in the air. Everybody, get a fist up in the air. Now follow me. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Cause that somebody scream. Without cause, I had to bet David Slides. The strong, straight rock and roll. Roll. Live and prove. Yeah, from the city of truth. You know what you and critics not when selling rhymes. Something time still there. Wanna see us cry? Because only God knows why. Why? Why? They call me cowboy. I'm the singer of black. Throw a fist in the air. Let me see where you at. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Say fight, fight. Say Trump, Trump.
Oh, Kid Rock. Here we go. This is great.
Yeah, it feels like I'm watching a halftime of the football game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you gotta.
That's about right.
You gotta. What a concert.
I don't think it would have been my choice, but that's just my personal
Right.
taste.
Right.
You know, they have had some stickers that I questioned their good thing. We'll see how that goes.
Right?
fight. Say fight, fight. Say Trump, Trump.
No, this is a great point. Jen was just saying, can you imagine the old dog Republicans really doing this? This is.
Fight.
No, no.
I can't imagine Mitt Romney doing this.
Well, he's not there. He has
Mitch
gladly
McConnell.
missed all of this.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That's kind of like new.
That's a different problem. That's for later.
different conversation.
Well, it is true the Republican Party has to find a younger constituency. The younger voters are largely disengaged. Democrats are very active in recruiting on college campuses. So the Republicans really need to step it up.
Kid Rock's not that new though. Like he call me cowboy. That's definitely me in teenage life. Like that was my teenage era, right?
Were you a cowboy?
Absolutely. And Kid Rock kind of cowboy.
I was gonna say that.
Well, I'm always amused now. I mean, how old is Kid Rock? Like what, 45?
Something
I
like
think
that.
he's older than 45. I'm just 40, but maybe I don't know. I don't know.
Now
how
I
old
have
he
to
is.
look it up. Yeah.
Regardless, there's a lot of energy. I think that's the point. Is there's just good energy, and it's solid too. Like the song's pretty solid. I'm digging it.
He's 53.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Younger than I thought he was.
There we
okay,
go.
young people, right? So,
You say Danny White?
Dana White.
Dana White.
Dana White is.
Dana White,
Yeah.
I was
He's
like,
the CEO
what
of
does he say?
UFC.
Got it.
yeah, he's a huge Trump supporter, big supporter of the Republican Party.
Right.
This is a little calmer.
Yeah. That's for the crowd in the house there.
Right,
A
yeah.
little older.
Let's just take it down a little bit. Still keep that fight going, but just a little calmer fight.
Yeah.
It's past everyone's bedtime, so we need to just keep it a little calmer.
Well, it's past Joe Biden's bedtime, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know that he's asleep tonight.
Yeah,
so.
like the show hasn't even started yet, and Joe Biden's already asleep at this point.
Yeah. I prayed several times for Joe Biden. We got to get him to the November election.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still president. Can't fix that.
Yeah.
Right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dana White. I am the CEO and president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So 2 weeks ago, I got a call from President Trump asking me if I'd be willing to speak tonight. As usual, there was no pressure, no demands. He asked me as a friend, and of course I said yes. Then, after I accepted his offer, he sent me a text message, and I just want to read to you a little piece of what President Trump wrote to me. Dana, I'm so honored that you will be doing the introduction at the National Republican Convention. Think of it as the biggest fight you ever had, a fight for our country and even the world. I only wish you didn't have to interrupt your family trip, but I hope they understand they love you and they know how important this is. Now think about this. This man's running for president of the United States. He's fighting for the future of this country, and he's concerned about interrupting my family trip. That's the President Trump that I know, a man who truly cares about people. The mainstream media likes to push the narrative that he doesn't care about anyone but himself.
I absolutely know that's not the truth because I've been friends with this guy for 25 years. And for the people who know me, they'll know this is true. I just want to make something very clear. Nobody in the Trump campaign has ever told me what to say. Nobody tells me what to say, and I'm nobody's puppet. And I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I know. And I know President Trump. I know President Trump is a fighter. I've been saying this since 2015. Now look at what's happened over the last 10 years. We have all seen it with our own eyes. I'm in the tough guy business, and this man is the toughest, most resilient human being that I've ever met in my life. The higher the stakes, the harder he fights, and this guy never, ever gives up. So what's at stake here? The answer is in President Trump's text, and I quote, "A fight for our country." I know why he's running for president again. Why else would he put himself through everything he's dealt with just to get back here? We all know he doesn't need this. This guy's got a great life, he has a beautiful family, and he has achieved everything that you could possibly achieve in life. I know President Trump is literally putting his life on the line for something bigger than himself, and he's willing to risk it all because he loves this country. And I know he wants what's best for the American people, all American people. I know he's running for president to save our American dream. I'm living the American dream, and I know the American dream is very real. Whether you were born in this country or came here from someplace else, this is the last real land of opportunity. President Reagan once said, "Government's first duty is to protect the people, not run their lives." And if you're buried in government red tape, how will you ever start your own business? If you're struggling to pay your bills, how can you ever afford to start a family? And if you don't feel safe in your own town, why would you ever buy a house? I know that President Trump is fighting to save the American dream, and that's what's at stake in this election. We are choosing who we want to lead us in this fight. I know President Trump is a proven leader, a fearless leader, and this country was in a much better place when he was in the Oval Office. In my mind, the choice is clear. But this election, we all get to choose. I know I'm going to choose strength and security. I know I'm going to choose opportunity and prosperity. I know I'm going to choose real American leadership and a real American badass. And I'm not telling you what choice to make, and I'm not telling you what to think. I'm telling you what I know. I know America needs a strong leader, and the world needs a strong America. I know Donald J. Trump is the best choice for President of the United States. My fellow Americans, it is my honor to introduce the 45th and soon-to-be 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Yay!
Yep, here we go.
There we go, really.
If tomorrow all the things were gone,
Here we go.
I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again. Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause our flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. Sing it. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas.
I think Dana White must be doing the production for this.
From Detroit to Houston.
Yeah.
I feel like we need the
Here it is.
display.
Yeah. Expecting to see some half-naked wrestlers come out.
We already had Hulk Hogan. He already ripped his shirt off again. But
I'm
this
gonna
is
tell you.
beautiful. This is what I would expect. You know, we've got
Yeah.
I'm proud to be an American.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
This is great. What an honor.
His cheeks are glistening.
Most people don't realize how big Donald Trump is. He's
6'3". Yeah.
he's about as wide as a refrigerator.
Sounds
He
about
truly
right.
he's very wide. He's a big man. Also, most people don't realize that George Washington was even bigger than Donald Trump.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't realize he was larger. I knew he was large, but I hadn't really thought to make a comparison.
Yeah,
That's
so you can think of George Washington as being something like Shaquille O'Neal size.
Wow. That's massive.
He was a very, very big man.
He still has that very somber look to him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to hear what he has to say.
We've all heard the reports about his speech being changed at the last minute.
Really?
Yeah, he had his speech that he decided to change up.
Oh, see, I didn't hear that. Not we all, I
I guess so. He decided to change his speech at the last minute, considering the
Very
assassination
quickly.
attempt.
Thank you very much.
Here we go.
Thank you very, very much. Wow. And thank you, Dana. Thank you, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob. And thank you, Lee, right from the beginning. Thank you very much. What a talent. What a beautiful, beautiful soul. Thank you. Friends, delegates, and fellow citizens, I stand before you this evening with a message of confidence, strength, and hope. 4 months from now, we will have an incredible victory, and we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. Together, we will launch a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. The discord and division in our society must be healed. We must heal it quickly. As Americans, we are bound together by a single fate and a shared destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we will do it right. Gonna do it right. Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, what happened? Tell us what happened, please. And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell. It was a warm, beautiful day in the early evening in Butler Township in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Music was loudly playing, and the campaign was doing really well. I went to the stage, and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I began speaking very strongly, powerfully, and happily, because I was discussing the great job my administration.
The one thing I
did on
noticed in this speech,
immigration
he's
at the
much
southern
calmer.
border. We were very proud
Like
of it.
you point out, John, he's got a glow in his countenance. I mean,
Behind me,
he
and
looks
to the right
different.
was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage. These are great people at great risk, I will tell you, and pounced on top of me so that I would be protected. There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. The most incredible aspect of what took place on that terrible evening in the fading sun was actually seen later. In almost all cases, as you probably know, and when even a single bullet is fired, just a single bullet, and we had many bullets that were being fired, crowds run for the exits or stampede, but not in this case. It's very unusual.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment.
This massive crowd of tens of thousands of people stood by and didn't move an inch. In fact, many of them bravely but automatically stood up looking for where the sniper would be. They knew immediately it was a sniper. And then began pointing at him. You can see that if you look at the group behind me. That was just a small group compared to what was in front. Nobody ran, and by not stampeding, many lives were saved. But that isn't the reason that they didn't move. The reason is that they knew I was in very serious trouble. They saw it. They saw me go down. They saw the blood and thought, actually most did, that I was dead. They knew it was a shot to the head. They saw the blood. And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something, but they just, this beautiful crowd, they didn't want to leave me. They knew I was in trouble. They didn't want to leave me. And you can see that love written all over their faces. Incredible people. They're incredible people. Bullets were flying over us, yet I felt serene. But now the Secret Service agents were putting themselves in peril. They were in very dangerous territory. Bullets were flying right over them, missing them by a very small amount of inches. And then it all stopped. Our Secret Service sniper, from a much greater distance and with only one bullet used, took the assassin's life, took him out. I'm not supposed to be here tonight. Not supposed to be.
So where are you getting that feed from? I'm watching several feeds on my computer.
He said,
He said, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just curious because the shot that you're getting on
But
your
I'm not.
feed is a very wide
I'll
shot.
tell
It's
you.
a very
I stand
compelling shot.
before
The
you
other
in this
feeds that
arena
I'm
only
seeing
by the
online are much
grace
tighter shots, so they're not
of Almighty
getting
God.
the graphics of his injury.
We're getting it from the Donald J. Trump YouTube feed.
In watching
Oh,
the
I see.
reports over the last few days, many people say it was a providential moment. Probably
Absolutely
was. When I rose surrounded by Secret Service, the crowd was confused because they thought I was dead, and there was great, great sorrow. I could see that on their faces as I looked out. They didn't know I was looking out. They thought it was over. But I could see it, and I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight."
Bullet would have hit its mark.
Once my clenched fist went up, and it was high into the air, you've all seen that, the crowd realized I was okay and roared with pride for our country like no crowd I have ever heard before. Never heard anything like it.
He has the roar of the
For
nation
the rest
behind
of
him
my
now.
life, I will be grateful for the love shown by that giant audience of patriots that stood bravely on that fateful evening in Pennsylvania. Tragically, the shooter claimed the life of one of our fellow Americans, Corey. comparator, unbelievable person, everybody tells me. Unbelievable. And seriously wounded. 2 other great warriors, spoke to them today. David Dutch and James Copenhaver. 2 great people. I also spoke to all 3 families of these tremendous people. Our love and prayers are with them, and always will be. We're never going to forget them. They came for a great rally. They were serious Trumpsters, I want to tell you. They were serious Trumpsters, and still are. But Corey, unfortunately, we have to use the past tense. He was incredible. He was a highly respected former fire chief, respected by everybody. Was accompanied by his wife, Helen, incredible woman. I spoke to her today, devastated, and 2 precious daughters. He lost his life selflessly acting as a human shield to protect them from flying bullets. He went right over the top of them and was hit. What a fine man he was.
Oh.
Where's he going? Oh.
That's truly beautiful.
I want to thank the fire department and the family for
I don't think any
sending
president has ever
his helmet, his
walked away from the
outfit,
podium
and
during a convention like that.
and they're going to do something very special when they get it. But we did something which cannot match what happened, not even close. But I am very proud to say that over the past few days, we've raised $6.3 million for the families of David, James, and Corey, including from a friend of mine just called up. He sent me a check right here. I just got it. $1 million.
Goodness.
Oh my goodness.
From Dan Newland. Thank you, Dan.
He just has it in his pocket.
Well, he just got it.
Exactly.
And again, when speaking to the family, I told them, I said, well, I'm going to be sending you a lot of money, but it can't compensate. They all said the same thing. You're right, sir. We appreciate so much what you're doing, but nothing can take the place in the case of Corey. And the other 2, by the way, they were very, very seriously injured, but now they're doing very well. They're going to be okay. They're going to be doing very well. They're warriors. So now I ask that we observe a moment of silence in honor of our friend Corey. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for others. This is the spirit that forged America in her darkest hours, and this is the love that will lead America back to the summit of human achievement and greatness. This is what we need. Despite such a heinous attack, we unite this evening more determined than ever. I am more determined than ever, and so are you. So is everybody in this room. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our resolve is unbroken and our purpose is unchanged to deliver a government that serves the American people better than ever before. Nothing will stop me in this mission because our vision is righteous and our cause is pure. No matter what obstacle comes our way, we will not break, we will not bend, we will not back down, and I will never stop fighting for you, your family, and our magnificent country. Never.
You can just feel it when he says it.
And everything I have to give with all of the energy and fight in my heart and soul, I pledge to our nation tonight. Thank you very much. I pledge that to our nation. We're going to turn our nation around, and we're going to do it very quickly. Thank you. This election should be about the issues facing our country and how to make America successful, safe, free, and great again. In an age when our politics too often divide us, now is the time to remember that we are all fellow citizens. We are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. Especially since that is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country. And very big news, as you probably just read, on Monday, a major ruling was handed down from a highly respected federal judge in Florida, Eileen Cannon, finding that the prosecutor and the fake documents case against me were totally unconstitutional, and the entire case was thrown out of court. With all of that publicity, thrown out of court. If Democrats want to unify our country, they should drop these partisan witch hunts, which I have been going through for approximately 8 years. And they should do that without delay and allow an election to proceed that is worthy of our people. We're going to win it anyway.
Yep.
But worthy of our people.
Worthy of our people.
On
that's
this
right.
journey, I am deeply honored to be joined by my amazing wife, Melania. And Melania, thank you very much. You also did something really beautiful, a letter to America calling for national unity, and it really took the Republican Party by surprise. I will tell you, it was beautiful.
We all love that.
A great example of womanhood. Motherhood.
In fact, some very serious people said that we should take that letter and put it as part of the Republican platform. That would be an honor, wouldn't it? Right, Mr. Congressman? But it captivated so many, so I also want to thank my entire family for being here. Don, Kimberly, Ivanka and Jared, Eric and Lara, Tiffany and Michael, Barron. We love our Barron. And of course, my 10 wonderful grandchildren. You saw a few of them up there on my lap before. And how good was Dana? Was Dana good? I mean, was he good? He was on probably the only vacation he's had in about, maybe ever, because he works, but about 10 years with his wife, very far away. I won't tell you where, but very, very far away, beautiful place. And my people called, and he said, I won't be able to do it. This is many, many years. I promised my wife I can't do it. And they came in, they said, Dana won't be able to do it, because he was my first, second, and third choice. I said, well, that's too bad, but I understand he's away, and it's good. It's good for him. And that was it. About 30 minutes later, she came back in, sir, Dana just called. He's going to do it. And his wife, she said, you can't turn him down. You just can't do it. You have to go. That's a good wife.
Not taking those vacations for granted, but dude, it better be for a good purpose, and that definitely
So he got on a
is.
plane. He got here a little while ago. Now he's going to get on the plane in a little while, and he's going to go back home to his wife. But they're great, and I just want to thank her and him and their whole family, because that's not easy. And Kid Rock, same thing. Called, he said, I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part, because, Kid does his great song, big, big monster song. I had no idea. He became a friend of mine over the last 10 years. And he's amazing. Everyone loves him. I didn't even know how big he was. He has rallies, 35, 40,000 people he gets every time he goes out. I think he's making so much money, he doesn't know what the hell to do with it. You want to know? And then we have my other friend, and I've known him so long, and we took that song, and it was a big success, but we made that. I saw a chart of great songs to America. That was #1 on the chart recently, #1. So that's Lee Greenwood, a very special, beautiful person. He's a beautiful man. But they all wanted to be here. They called. And how about the Hulkster? How good was he? Is he up? Where is he? Boy, oh boy.
Humble.
Oh, absolutely. Look at that. Hulk Hogan.
They may call that entertainment. I know about entertainment, but when he used to lift a 350-pound man over his shoulders and then bench press him 2 rows into the audience, I say, maybe entertainment, but he is one strong son of a gun. I will tell you, I watched it many times. There aren't a lot of entertainers that can do that, right? You were fantastic. Thank you very much. Followed by Eric. What was that all about? Boy, that was good. I didn't want to really come up here. But he was so great, and he's such a good young man. He went through a lot of trouble, and Don last night was incredible. They went through so much trouble. They got subpoenaed more than any people probably in the history of the United States. Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. They've got to stop that because they're destroying our country. We have to work on making America great again, not on beating people. And we won. We beat them in all. We beat them on the impeachments. We beat them on indictments. We beat them. But the time that you have to spend, if they would devote that genius to helping our country, we'd have a much stronger and better country. And Jason, the biggest star in country music. Jason, thank you for being here. Jason, thank you very much. Jason Aldean, he's good. I like his wife even better, by the way. She's here. Thank you, Jason. But I'm thrilled to have a new friend and partner fighting by my side. The next Vice President of the United States, the current Senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, and his incredible wife, Usha.
Does anyone think that Joe Biden could remember all those names to people to thank.
He can't
He's
even
going to be a
remember his
great
wife's name.
Vice President. He's going to be great. He'll be with this
Well,
country.
you know,
and
you
with
heard he
his
just
movement,
referred to the
greatest movement
defense
in the history of
secretary
our
as
country.
that black
Make America
man.
great again. When they criticize it, they
Doesn't
say,
remember-
try and stop MAGA. I said, MAGA is making America great again. What are you going to stop? There's nothing to stop.
Couldn't get the gender right of his Secret Service head.
Then they say, oh, that's right. It's very tough
Or
to
the
fight
name
it.
of his own vice president.
Yeah.
And all of the people that did try and fight it have failed. But he's going to be with us for a long time.
thank
and it was an
God we
honor
have
to
Donald Trump
select him. Great student
run
at
for
Yale.
election.
His wife was a great student at Yale. They met at Yale. These are two smart people. So, JD, you're going to be doing this for a long time. Enjoy the ride. And a very special thank you to the extraordinary people of Milwaukee. So easy to spot. And Green Bay's going to have a good team this year, right? They're going to have a good team. They're going to have a good team. Most of the audience doesn't like it, but it's true. You're going to have a very good team this year. And by the way, Wisconsin, we are spending over $250 million here creating jobs and other economic development all over the place. So I hope you will remember this in November and give us your vote. I am trying to buy your vote. I'll be honest about that. And I promise we will make Wisconsin great again. We're going to make it.
Has anybody ever, any president
Mr.
ever
Governor,
said that?
thank you very much. Thank you. I'm here tonight to lay out a vision for the whole nation. To every citizen, whether you're a young or old man or woman, Democrat, Republican, or independent, black or white, Asian or Hispanic, I extend to you a hand of loyalty and of friendship. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before. We were right there in the first term. We got hit with COVID. We did a great job. Nobody knew what it was, but nobody's ever seen an economy pre-COVID. And then we handed over a stock market that was substantially higher than just prior to COVID. Coming in, did a great job. Never got credit for that. We got credit for the war and defeating ISIS and so many things, the great economy, the biggest tax cuts ever, the biggest regulation cuts ever, the creation of Space Force, the rebuilding of our military. We did so much. We did so much. Right to try. Right to try is a big deal. We got right to try. They were trying to get that for 52 years. Somebody's terminally ill. And hopefully there's nobody in this audience, but it does happen a lot. They're terminally ill and they can't use our new space-age drugs and other things that we are way ahead. We have the greatest doctors in the world, the greatest laboratories in the world, and you can't do it. They've been trying to get that approved for 52 years. Wasn't that easy? The insurance companies didn't want to do it. They didn't want the risk. The labs didn't want to do it because if it didn't work, people are pretty far down the line toward death. They didn't want to do it. The doctors didn't want to have it on their records, so I got everybody into an office. 52 years they tried. Sounds simple, but it's not. And I got them to agree that somebody that needs it will, instead of going to Asia, Europe, or someplace, or if you have no money going home and dying, just die. We got them to sign an agreement, agree to it, where they're not going to sue anybody. They're going to get all of this stuff. They're going to get it really fast. And what's happened is we're saving thousands and thousands of lives. It's incredible. Right to try. It's a great feeling. Under our leadership, the United States will be respected again. No nation will question our power. No enemy will doubt our might. Our borders will be totally secure. Our economy will soar. We will return law and order to our streets, patriotism to our schools, and importantly, we will restore peace, stability, and harmony all throughout the world. But to achieve this future, we must first rescue our nation from failed and even incompetent leadership. We have totally incompetent leadership. This will be the most important election in the history of our country. Under the current administration, we are indeed a nation in decline. We have an inflation crisis that is making life unaffordable, ravaging the incomes of working and low-income families, and crushing, just simply crushing our people like never before. They've never seen anything like it. We also have an illegal immigration crisis, and it's taking place right now as we sit here in this beautiful arena. It's a massive invasion at our southern border that has spread misery, crime, poverty, disease, and destruction to communities all across our land. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Then there's an international crisis, the likes of which the world has seldom been part of. Nobody can believe what's happening. War is now raging in Europe and the Middle East. A growing specter of conflict hangs over Taiwan, Korea, the Philippines, and all of Asia, and our planet is teetering on the edge of World War III, and this will be a war like no other war because of weaponry. The weapons are no longer army tanks going back and forth shooting at each other. These weapons are obliteration. It's time for a change. This administration can't come close to solving the problems. We're dealing with very tough, very fierce people. They're fierce people. And we don't have fierce people. We have people that are a lot less than fierce, except when it comes to cheating on elections and a couple of other things. Then they're fierce. Then they're fierce. So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill.
Can you believe what they're doing? But by doing that, we will lead a large-scale decline in prices. Prices will start to come down. Energy raised it. They took our energy policies and destroyed them. Then they immediately went back to them, but by that time, so much was lost. But we will do it at levels that nobody's ever seen before, and we'll end lots of different things. We'll start paying off debt and start lowering taxes even further. We gave you the largest tax cut. We'll do it more. You know, people don't realize I brought taxes way down, way down, and yet we took in more revenues the following year than we did when the tax rate was much higher. Most people said, how did you do that? Because it was incentive. Everybody was coming to the country. They were bringing back billions and billions of dollars into our country. The companies made it impossible to bring it back. The tax rate was too high, and the legal complications were far too great. I changed both of them, and hundreds of billions of dollars by Apple and so many other companies were brought back into our nation, and we had an economy the likes of which no nation had ever seen. China, we were beating them at levels that were incredible. And they know it. They know it. We'll do it again, but we'll do it even better. I will end the illegal immigration crisis by closing our border and finishing the wall, most of which I've already built. On the wall, we were dealing with a very difficult Congress. And I said, oh, that's okay. We won't go to Congress. I call it an invasion. We gave our military almost $800 billion. I said, I'm going to take a little of that money because this is an invasion. And we built, most of the wall is already built. And we built it through using the funds because what's better than that? We have to stop the invasion into our country that's killing hundreds of thousands of people a year. We're not going to let that happen. I will end every single international crisis. that the current administration has created, including the horrible war with Russia and Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president, and the war caused by the attack on Israel, which would have never happened if I was president. Iran was broke. Iran had no money. Now Iran has $250 billion. They made it all over the last 2.5 years. They were broke. I watched the other day on a show called Deface the Nation. Has anyone seen it? And they had a congressman who was a Democrat say, well, whether you like him or not, Iran was broke dealing with Trump. I told China and other countries, if you buy from Iran, we will not let you do any business in this country, and we will put tariffs on every product you do send in of 100% or more. And they said to me, well, I think that's about it. They weren't going to buy any oil. And they were ready to make a deal. Iran was going to make a deal with us. And then we had that horrible, horrible result that we'll never let happen again. The election result, we're never going to let that happen again. They used COVID to cheat. We're never going to let it happen again. And they took off all the sanctions, and they did everything possible for Iran. And now Iran is very close to having a nuclear weapon, which would have never happened. This is a shame what this administration, the damage that this administration has done. And I say it often, if you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done. Only going to use the term once. Biden. I'm not going to use the name anymore, just one time. The damage that he's done to this country is unthinkable. It's unthinkable. Together we will restore vision, strength, competence, and we're going to have a thing called common sense making most of our decisions, actually. It's all common sense. Just a few short years ago, under my presidency, we had the most secure border and best economy in the history of our country, in the history of the world. We had the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had never done anything like it. We were beating every country, including China, by leaps and bounds. Nobody had seen anything like it. We had no inflation. Soaring incomes were going. Nobody can believe it. You can't believe what happened 4 years ago is happening now in reverse. And the world was at peace. Inflation has been a killer for our country. No matter what you make it, it doesn't matter because inflation is eating you alive. People that were putting away money, they were making great wages, the highest they've ever made, but they were putting away a lot of money. Now they are just being destroyed. They're not putting away anything. They're barely living. They're going into savings accounts. They're taking out their money to live because of inflation. Inflation, remember, it's called a country buster. You can go back to Germany from 100 years ago. You can go back to any country that suffered great inflation. We've suffered the worst inflation we've ever had. But go back and see what's happened to those countries. We've had the worst inflation we've ever had under this person. But in less than 4 years, our opponents have turned incredible success into unparalleled tragedy and failure. It's been a tremendous failure. Today, our cities are flooded with illegal aliens. Americans are being squeezed out of the labor force and their jobs are taken. And by the way, you know who's taking the jobs that are created? 107% of those jobs are taken by illegal aliens. And you know who's being hurt the most by millions of people pouring into our country? The black population and the Hispanic population, because they're taking the jobs from our black population, our Hispanic population, and they're also taking them from unions. The unions are suffering because of it. Thank you. Thank you. I like you too. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Inflation has wiped out the life savings of our citizens and forced the middle class into a state of depression and despair. That's what it is. It's despair and depression. We cannot and will not let this continue. Less than 4 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. We're going to be a great nation again. Thank you. With proper leadership, every disaster we are now enduring will be fixed, and it will be fixed very, very quickly. So tonight, whether you've supported me in the past or not, I hope you will support me in the future, because I will bring back the American dream. That's what we're going to do. You don't even hear about the American dream anymore. With great humility, I am asking you to be excited about the future of our country. Be excited. Be excited. And by the way, the news reports, look at all of those big networks. Look at them. They're all here. But every one of them has said this could be the most organized, best run, and most enthusiastic convention of either party that they've ever seen. Every single one. And it's true. It's true. And there's love in the room. There's great love in the room. So I better finish strong. Otherwise, we'll blow it. And we can't let that happen. Now, this was great. All of the great people that spoke, and everybody hit a home run. I mean, there's not one that I can think of where I said, oh, gee, that wasn't great. Every single person. I refuse to be the only one. Don't do that to me. They're already getting ready. See, I gave them an idea. Now, this was a great convention. This was, I think we're actually going to go home and miss it. You know, usually with a first of all, look at these crowds. You'd never have this at a convention. Look at these crowds. Love. It's about love. This week, the entire Republican Party has formally adopted an agenda for America's renewal, and you saw that agenda. And it's very short compared to the long, boring, meaningless agendas of the past, including the Democrats. They write these things that are hundreds of pages long, and they never read them after they're done. In their case, fortunately, they don't read them because they're pretty bad. It's a series of bold promises that we will swiftly implement when you give us a Republican House. And Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We have our great Speaker of the House with us tonight. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Thank you. A Republican Senate. We have many senators here. And send me back to our beautiful White House just a few short months from now. We're talking about just months. It can't come fast enough.
It can't come fast enough. It's absolutely right.
First, we must get economic relief to our citizens. Starting on day one, we will drive down prices and make America affordable again. We have to make it affordable. It's not affordable. People can't live like this. Under this administration, our current administration, groceries are up 57%, gasoline is up 60 and 70%, mortgage rates have quadrupled. And the fact is, it doesn't matter what they are because you can't get the money anyway. You can't buy houses. Young people can't get any financing to buy a house. The total household costs have increased an average of $28,000 per family under this administration. Republicans have a plan to bring down prices and bring them down very, very rapidly. By slashing energy costs, we will in turn reduce the cost of transportation, manufacturing, and all household goods. So much starts with energy. And remember, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country by far. We are a nation that has the opportunity to make an absolute fortune with its energy. We have it, and China doesn't. Under the Trump administration, just 3.5 years ago, we were energy independent, but soon we will actually be better than that. We will be energy dominant and supply not only ourselves, but we will supply the rest of the world with numbers that nobody has ever seen, and we will reduce our debt $36 trillion. We will start reducing that, and we will also reduce your taxes still further. Next, and by the way, they want to raise your taxes 4 times. Think of it. And all my life, I grew up watching politicians. I always loved politics. I guess I was on the other side. I'd watch and they were always talking about, we will give you a tax cut. We will give you a tax cut. My whole life, I was watching, I will give you a tax cut, right, Mr. Congressman? That's all they talked about. This is the only administration that said, we're going to raise your taxes by 4 times what you're paying now, and people are supposed to vote for them? I've never heard it. You're paying too much. We're going to reduce your taxes still further. We gave you the biggest one, as I said. We're going to give you more, and it's going to lead to tremendous growth. We want growth in our country.
Amen,
that's what's
brother.
going to pay off our debt.
You're paying too much. You're paying too much. You're paying too much in taxes.
And next, we will end the ridiculous and actually incredible waste of taxpayer dollars that is fueling the inflation crisis. They spent trillions of dollars on things having to do with the Green New Scam. It's a scam. And that's caused tremendous inflationary pressures in addition to the cost of energy. And all of the trillions of dollars that are sitting there not yet spent, we will redirect that money for important projects like roads, bridges, dams, and we will not allow it to be spent on meaningless green new scam ideas.
I swear everyone's got terrible roads. Everyone has them.
And I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day 1.
Thank you.
Thereby saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration, which is happening right now, and saving U.S. customers thousands and thousands of dollars per car. And right now, as we speak, large factories just started are being built across the border in Mexico. So with all the other things happening on our border, and they're being built by China to make cars and to sell them into our country. No tax, no anything. The United Auto Workers ought to be ashamed for allowing this to happen. And the leader of the United Auto Workers should be fired immediately. And every single auto worker, union and non-union, should be voting for Donald Trump, because we're going to bring back car manufacturing, and we're going to bring it back fast.
Amen, brother. I know I got a lot of friends in Detroit that loves to hear that.
They're building some of the largest auto plants anywhere in the world. Think of it, in the world. We're going to bring it back. We're going to make them. We don't mind that happening, but those plants are going to be built in the United States, and our people are going to man those plants.
Yep.
Right here, right here. We're down the street from Nissan.
Bring those jobs
back. Amen,
and
brother.
if they don't agree with us, we'll put a tariff of approximately 100.
Yeah, my brother-in-law
200%
works in
for
that
each
plant.
car, and they will be unsellable
Works in the plant?
the United States.
Yeah.
Nice.
We have long been taken advantage of by other countries. And think of it, oftentimes these other countries are considered so-called allies. They've taken advantage of us for years. We lose jobs, we lose revenue, and they gain everything and wipe out our businesses, wipe out our people. I stopped it for 4 years. I stopped it, and we're really ready to make changes like nobody had seen before. And remember, USMCA, I got rid of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with USMCA, which is, they say, the best trade deal ever made. Actually, probably the best trade deal was the deal I made with China, where they buy $50 billion worth of our product. They were buying nothing. They buy $50 billion worth. They had to. But I don't even talk about it because of COVID. I don't even mention it, frankly, because of what happened with the China virus.
That's what it was. Come on now. China virus. That's
We
it.
will not let countries come in, take our jobs, and plunder our nation. They come and do that. They plunder our nation. The way they will sell their product in America is to build it in America. Very simple. Build it in America and only in America. And this very simple formula, and Congress has to go along with us, and they will. This very simple formula will create massive numbers of jobs. We will take over the auto industry again, and many, many, hundreds of thousands of jobs. We lost so many jobs over the years. If you go back 20, 25 years, they've stolen, going to China and Mexico, about 68% of our auto industry manufacturing jobs. We're going to get them all back. We're going to get them all back, every one of them. At the center of our plan for economic relief are massive tax cuts for workers that include something else that's turned out to be very popular, actually. Here it's very popular, in this building and all those hotels that I saw that are so nice. I'm staying in a nice one. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. I got that by having dinner recently in Nevada, where we're leading by about 14 points. Hello. I'll see you there very soon, everybody. And we're having dinner at a beautiful restaurant in the Trump building on the Strip, and it's a great building, and the waitress comes over. How's everything going? A really nice person. How's everything? Oh, sir, it's so tough. The government's after me all the time on tips, tips, tips. I said, well, they give you cash. Would they be able to find him? She said, actually, and I didn't know this, she said, very little cash is given. It's all put right on the check. And they come in and they take so much of our money, it's just ridiculous. And they don't believe anything we say. And they've just hired, as you know, 88,000 agents to go after him even more. And I said, this shows the level of my, most people go out, they hire consultants, they pay them millions of dollars. But I said to her, let me just ask you a question. Would you be happy if you had no tax on tips? She said, what a great idea. I got my information from a very smart waitress. That's better than spending millions of dollars.
I love this guy.
Everybody
Right to the
loves
source.
it.
Yeah.
Waitresses and caddies and drivers and everybody's a large group of people that are being really hurt badly. They make money, let them keep their money.
Yeah.
I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare. Democrats are going to destroy Social Security and Medicare because all of these people, by the millions they're coming in, they're going to be on Social Security and Medicare and other things, and you're not able to afford it. They are destroying your Social Security and your Medicare. Under my plan, incomes will skyrocket, inflation will vanish completely, jobs will come roaring back, and the middle class will prosper like never, ever before, and we're going to do it very rapidly.
Cannot wait for that.
But no hope or dream we have for America can succeed unless we stop the illegal immigrant invasion, the worst that's ever been seen anywhere in the world. There's never been an invasion like this anywhere. Third world countries would fight with sticks and stones not to let this happen. The invasion at our southern border, we will stop it, and we will stop it quickly. You heard Tom Homan yesterday. Tom Homan, put him in charge and just sit back and watch. Brandon Judd of Border Patrol, he's incredible. These guys, they really, their job is a lot easier if they don't have to do anything, but they want to. They're patriots. Brandon Judd, Border Patrol, ICE. ICE goes out. You have to see what ICE does with MS-13. You have these are probably the worst gang, and ICE goes in there. And I know a lot of people in these rows here, and they're very tough people, but they don't want to do this job. They'll go into a pack of MS-13 killers. They're the worst, probably the worst gangs in the world. And we have thousands of them. I moved thousands and thousands out in my 4 years. We moved them out, and it was a pleasure. But ICE would go right into a pack of these killers, and you see fists flying, you see everything flying, and then they take them. They put them in a paddy wagon. They take them back, and they get them out of our country. And the other countries weren't accepting them back, and I called up, and I said, tell them that we're not giving them economic aid anymore. And the next day, I got calls from all of these countries that were terminated. Billions of dollars we spend on economic aid to countries that does us, frankly, no good. And the next day I was called by everybody. I couldn't take all the calls. Sir, what's the problem? I said, you won't take your killers back that you sent in caravans into America. You won't take them back. Well, sir, if you'd like us to, we would give very serious consideration to doing that. And within 24 hours, they were being taken back. For years and years, when I first came in, they said President Obama tried to get him to go back, and they wouldn't accept him. They'd put planes on the runway so you couldn't leave the plane. They'd close the road so you couldn't take the buses. They'd all have to turn back. As soon as I said no more economic aid of any kind to any country that does that, they called back and they said, sir, it would be our great honor to take MS-13. We love them very much. We love them very much, sir. We'll take them back.
Don't you worry
At the
about it.
heart of the Republican platform is our pledge to end this border nightmare and fully restore the sacred and sovereign borders of the United States of America, and we're going to do that on day one. That means two things on day one, right? Drill, baby, drill, and close our borders. And by the way, and I think everybody as a Republican, as a patriot in this room, and most Democrats, we want people to come into our country, but they have to come into our country legally. Legally. Less than 4 years ago, I handed this administration the strongest border in American history. But you can see on the chart that saved my life, that was the chart that saved my life. I said, look it, I'm so proud of it. I think it's one of the greatest, it was done by the Border Patrol, one of the greatest charts I've ever seen. It showed everything just like that. You know the chart. Oh, there it is.
He's showing
That's
a
pretty
chart.
good. Wow.
Only Trump can show a chart with charm.
Last time I put up that chart, I never really got to look at it.
Never got a chance to look at it. It was a little busy.
I would not be here today.
That chart needs
You
to
gotta
be
get the chart.
framed,
Yeah, we need
put
it- we
into
need
the
the
White
chart.
House, just front and center, next to Jesus. Jesus chart.
The chart.
I said, you got to see this chart. I was so proud of it, and by the time I got to there, I never got to see it that day. But I'm seeing it now, and I was very proud. If you look at the arrow on the bottom, that's the lowest level, the one on the bottom, heavy red arrow. That's the lowest level of illegal immigrants ever to come into our country in recorded history, right there. Right there. And that was my last week in office. And then you see what happened after I left. Look at the rest. And if you go out a little bit further, it's getting to be a little bit old, but I love it anyway, right? But you can go much higher with those numbers. Look what happened right after that. The invasion began. We had the opposite. We stopped the invasion. But the invasion that we stopped was peanuts by comparison to what happened after I left. Look at what happened after I left. They took over our country. We ended all catch and release. We shut down asylum fraud. We stopped human trafficking and forged historic agreements to keep illegal aliens on foreign soil. We want them to stay on their soil. Under the Trump administration, if you came in illegally, you were apprehended immediately and you were deported. You went right back. The current administration terminated every single one of those great Trump policies that I put in place to seal the border. I wanted a sealed border. Again, come in, but come in legally. You know how unfair it is? So many people, hundreds of thousands of people, have been working for years to come into our country. And now they see these people pour into our country at levels that are unprecedented. It's so unfair. And we're not going to do it. We're not going to stand for it. They suspended wall construction, ended remain in Mexico. We had a policy, remain in Mexico. You think that was easy to get from the Mexican government? But I said, you must give it to us. If you don't give it to us, there will be repercussions. And they gave it to us, but not easy. Canceled our Safe Third agreements. demolished Title 42, implemented nationwide catch and release. That's catch and release, where we catch them and release them into our country. We catch them and release them into Mexico. There's a slight difference. And took 93, this is the previous administration, 93 executive actions to throw open our border to the world. The entire world is pouring into our country because of this very foolish administration. The greatest invasion in history is taking place right here in our country. They are coming in from every corner of the earth, not just from South America, but from Africa, Asia, the Middle East. They're coming from everywhere. They're coming at levels that we've never seen before. It is an invasion indeed, and this administration does absolutely nothing to stop them. They're coming from prisons. They're coming from jails. They're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. You know, the press is always on me because I say this. Has anyone seen Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He'd love to have you for dinner. That's insane asylums. They're emptying out their insane asylums. And terrorists are coming in at numbers that we've never seen before. Bad things are going to happen. Meanwhile, our crime rate is going up, while crime statistics all over the world are going down, because they're taking their criminals and they're putting them into our country. A certain country, and I happen to like the president of that country very much, but he's been getting great publicity because he's a wonderful shepherd of the country. He says how well the country's doing because their crime rate is down. And he said he's training all of these rough people. They're rough, rough, rough. He's training them. And I've been reading about this for 2 years. I think, oh, that's wonderful. Let's take a look at it. But then I realized he's not training them. He's sending all of his criminals, his drug dealers, his people that are in jails, he's sending them all to the United States. And he's different in that he doesn't say that. He's trying to convince everybody what a wonderful job he does in running the country. Well, he doesn't do a wonderful job. And by the way, if I ran one of the countries, many countries, many countries from all over, I would be worse than any of them. I would have had the place totally emptied out already. But we become a dumping ground for the rest of the world, which is laughing at us. They think we're stupid. And they can't believe that they're getting away with what they're getting away with, but they're not going to be getting away with it for long. That's what I can tell you. In Venezuela, Caracas, high crime. Caracas, Venezuela. Really a dangerous place, but not anymore. Because in Venezuela, crime is down 72%. In fact, if they would ever win this election, I hate to even say that, we will have our next Republican convention in Venezuela because it will be safe. Our cities will be so unsafe, we will not be able to have it there. In El Salvador, murders are down by 70%. Why are they down? Now, he would have you convinced that because he's trained murderers to be wonderful people. No. They're down because they're sending their murderers to the United States of America. This is going to be very bad. And bad things are going to happen, and you're seeing it happen all the time. That's why, to keep our families safe, the Republican platform promises to launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country.
Amen.
Gotta do it now.
Even larger than that of President Dwight D. Eisenhower from many years ago. You know, he was a moderate, but he believed very strongly in borders. He had the largest deportation operation we've ever had. Just recently, I spoke to the grieving mother of Jocelyn Nungary, a wonderful woman, a precious 12-year-old girl from Houston who last month was tied up, assaulted, and strangled to death after walking to the convenience store just a block away from her house. Her body was dumped near the side of the road in a shallow creek, found by some onlookers who couldn't believe what they had witnessed. charged with Jocelyn's heinous murder are 2 illegal aliens from Venezuela who came across our border, were in custody, and were then released into the country by this horrible, horrible administration that we have right now. I also met recently with the heartbroken mother and sister of Rachel Morin. Rachel was a 37-year-old mom of 5 beautiful children who was brutally raped and murdered while out on a run. She wanted to keep herself in good shape. It was very important to her. She was murdered. The monster responsible first killed another woman in El Salvador before he was led into America by the White House. This White House let them in. He then attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles before murdering Rachel in Maryland. Traveled all throughout the country, doing tremendous damage. Rachel's mother will never be the same. I spent time with her. She will never be the same. I've also met with the wonderful family of Laken Riley, the brilliant 22-year-old nursing student. She was so proud of being first in her class, who was out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia when she was assaulted, beaten, and horrifically killed. Yet another American life was stolen by a criminal alien set free by this administration. And these were incredible people we're talking about. These were incredible people who died. Tonight, America, this is my vow. I will not let these killers and criminals into our country. I will keep our sons and daughters safe. As we bring security to our streets, we will help bring stability to the world. I was the first president in modern times to start no new wars. You know, we were the toughest, we were the most respected. And you saw this. Hungry, strong country, run by a very powerful, tough leader. He's a tough guy. Press doesn't like him because he's tough. And he came out recently. They were asking him at an interview, the whole world is exploding. What's happening? What's going on? Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, very tough man. He said, I don't want people coming into my country and blowing up our shopping centers and killing people. But they said to him, tell us what's going wrong, what's happening, what is it? He said, there's only one way you're going to solve it. You got to bring President Trump back to the United States because he kept everybody at bay. He used a word I wouldn't use because I can't use that word, because you'd say it was braggadocious. The press would say he was a braggart. I'm not a braggart. But Viktor Orban said it. He said Russia was afraid of him. China was afraid of him. Everybody was afraid of him. Nothing was going to happen. The whole world was at peace. And now the world is blowing up around us. All of these things that you read about were not going to happen. Under President Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under President Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under the current administration, Russia is after all of Ukraine. Under President Trump, Russia took nothing. We defeated 100% of ISIS in Syria and Iraq. Something that was said to take 5 years, sir. It'll take 5 years, sir. We did it in a matter of a couple of months.
Yeah.
We have a great military. Our military is not woke. It's just some of the fools on top that are woke.
Yep.
I got along very well. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, I got along very well with him. The press hated when I said that. How could you get along with him? Well, you know, it's nice to get along with somebody who has a lot of nuclear weapons or otherwise, isn't it? See, in the old days, they'd say, that's a wonderful thing. Now they say, how could you possibly do that? But no, I got along with them, and we stopped the missile launches from North Korea. Now North Korea is acting up again, but When we get back, I get along with him. He'd like to see me back, too. I think he misses me, if you want to know the truth. Our opponents inherited a world at peace and turned it into a planet of war. We're in a planet of war. Look at that attack on Israel. Look at what's happening with Ukraine. The cities are just bombed out. How can people live like that where buildings, massive buildings, are falling to the ground? It began to unravel with the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, the worst humiliation in the history of our country. We have never had a humiliation like that. 13 heroic U.S. service members were tragically and needlessly killed. 45 others were horrifically wounded. Nobody ever talks about them. No arms, no legs, face explosions, horrifically wounded. And by the way, we have a man in this room who's running for the U.S. Senate from a great state, Nevada, named Sam Brown, who paid the ultimate price. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. He paid the biggest price probably ever paid by anybody that is running for office, and I think he's going to do great. He's running against a person that is not good, not respected, a total lightweight. But Sam, I think, paid, really, we were talking about it with some of the senators that are working so hard for Sam, but he paid the biggest price of any senator ever to run for the Senate. I don't think anybody's ever what he did. He was a real hero, a really great person. And he's running, and I hope that everybody gets out and votes for Sam Brown. And we also left behind $85 billion worth of military equipment, along with many American citizens were left behind. Many American citizens, emboldened by that disaster. Russia invaded Ukraine. They saw this group of people that were incompetent. We took the soldiers out first. No, we're going to take the soldiers out second. If they would have followed my plan, we had a great plan. But the plan only kicked in if they did everything perfectly, and they weren't doing things perfectly, so we said it doesn't kick in. You know, 18 months in Afghanistan, we didn't have one, so they were killing them left and right, snipers. And I spoke to the head of the Taliban. You've heard this story. Abdul, still there, still the head of the Taliban. The press got on me, why would you speak to him? I said, because that's where the killing is. I don't have to speak to somebody that has nothing to do with it. And I told him, don't ever do that. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. You've got to stop. Because during the Obama administration, many great people and soldiers, but a lot of soldiers were being killed from long distance. I said, if you keep doing that, you're going to be hit harder than anybody's ever been hit by a country before. And he said, I understand, Your Excellency. He called me Your Excellency. I wonder if he calls the other guy Your Excellency. I doubt it. The other guy gave him everything. I mean, what kind of a deal was that? He walked out, gave him everything. Do you know that right now Afghanistan is one of the largest sellers of weapons in the world? They're selling the brand new, beautiful weapons that we gave them. But think of it, he actually said to me, but why do you show me a picture of my home? I said, you'll have to ask your people or one of your wives. But he could figure it out. And for 18 months, we had not one attack on an American soldier by the Taliban. 18 months. And then we had that horrible day where soldiers were killed. I was not there because of a ridiculous election. But we had that horrible attack. And they also gave up Bagram, one of the biggest bases anywhere in the world, air bases anywhere in the world, the longest runways, most powerful, hardened, thickened runways. We gave it up. And I liked it, not because of Afghanistan. I liked it because of China. It's 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. And you know who has it now? China has it now. We were keeping that. And now China is likewise circling Taiwan, and Russian warships and nuclear submarines are operating 60 miles off the coast in Cuba. Do you know that? No, the press refuses to write about it. If that were me running this country and we had nuclear submarines in Cuba, I will tell you that the headlines every day would be, what's wrong with our president? You don't even hear this. You're not hearing about this. Russia has nuclear submarines and warships 60 miles away, Mr. Congressman, from Miami, by the way, happens to be here. Correct? In Cuba. And that would not be stood for if it were somebody else. They don't want to mention it, but now maybe they will. And the entire world, I tell you this, we want our hostages back, and they better be back before I assume office, or you will be paying a very big price. With our victory in November, the years of war, weakness, and chaos will be over. I don't have wars. I had no wars other than ISIS, which I defeated, but that was a war that was started. We had no wars. I could stop wars with a telephone call. I could stop wars with just a telephone call. If properly stated, it would never start. We will replenish our military and build an Iron Dome missile defense system to ensure that no enemy can strike our homeland. And this great Iron Dome will be built entirely in the USA. We're going to build it in the USA. And Wisconsin, just like I gave you that massive ship contract, and you're doing a very nice job, Governor, right? Thank you, Governor. And they're doing a great job. In fact, I had a little design change, and we gave them a tremendous for essentially what we used to call destroyers. These are now the most beautiful. They look like yachts. I said, we have to take the bow, and we have to make it a little nicer and a little point at the top instead of a flat nose. And the people at the shipyard said, this guy sort of knows what he's doing. We have the most beautiful ships, right, Governor? And everybody sitting over there. And it was a big contract that everybody wanted. I gave it to Wisconsin, but we're going to have a lot of that built right here in the state of Wisconsin and all other states. Israel has an Iron Dome. They have a missile defense system. 342 missiles were shot into Israel, and only one got through a little bit. It was badly wounded. It fell to the ground, but most of them are. And Ronald Reagan wanted this many years ago, but we really didn't have the technology many years ago. Remember, they called it Starship, spaceship, anything to mock him. But he was a very good president, very, very good. But now we have unbelievable technology. And why should other countries have this and we don't? No, we're going to build an Iron Dome over our country, and we're going to be sure that nothing can come and harm our people. And again, from an economic development standpoint, we're going to make it all right here. No more sending it out to other countries in order to help. It's America first. America first. We will unleash the power of American innovation. And as we do, we will soon be on the verge of finding the cures to cancer, Alzheimer's disease, and many other diseases. We're going to get to the bottom of it. You remember this gentleman that I don't want to mention other than one time I had to, because when you say the 10 worst, I had to do it. I didn't want anybody to be confused. But this man said, we're going to find a cure to cancer. Nothing happened. We're going to get to the cure for cancer and Alzheimer's and so many other things. We're so close to doing something great. But we need a leader that will let it be done. We will not have men playing in women's sports. That will end immediately. And we will restore and renovate our nation's once great cities, making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. And that includes our nation's capital, which is a horrible killing field. So many things. They leave from Wisconsin, they go to look at the Washington Monument, they end up getting stabbed, killed, or shot. We will be very soon very proud of our capital, again, Washington, D.C. America is on the cusp of a new golden age, but we will have the courage to seize it. We're going to take it. We're going to make it a current. We're going to bring this into a golden age like never seen before. Remember this, China wants to do it. Japan wants to do it. All of these countries want to do it. We have to produce massive amounts of energy if we're going to produce the new. If you look at some of the things that have been done and some of the things that we're going to do, but AI needs literally twice the electricity that's available now in our country. Can you imagine? But instead, we're spending places where they recharge electric cars. They built 8 chargers at a certain location toward the Midwest. 8 chargers for $9 billion. Think of them as a tank for filling up your gas. Think of it. They spent $9 billion on 8 chargers, 3 of which didn't work. And if you were going to do this all over our country, this crazy electric mandate, if you're going to do this all, and by the way, I'm all for electric. They have their application. But if somebody wants to buy a gas-powered car, gasoline-powered car, or a hybrid, they're going to be able to do it. And we're going to make that change on day 1. So to conclude, just a few short days ago, my journey with you nearly ended. We know that. And yet, here we are tonight, all gathered together, talking about the future, promise, and a total renewal of a thing we love very much. It's called America. We live in a world of miracles. None of us knows God's plan or where life's adventure will take us. I want to thank Franklin Graham for being here tonight. He's an outstanding man. He wrote me a note recently. I have a lot of respect for him. Sir, I love your storytelling. I think it's great in front of these big rallies. But sir, please do me one favor. It won't make any difference. Please don't use any foul language. I was a little embarrassed. I said, he said, it won't make any difference. Actually, it does. The story's not quite as good, but I've been very good. The story is not quite as good, to be honest. I've got to have a little talk with Franklin, but he was great. He's a great gentleman. His father was so incredible, Billy Graham. My father used to love taking me to see Billy Graham. My father would take me to see Billy Graham at Yankee Stadium. He had the biggest rallies you've ever seen. He was a good rally guy, too. But he'd get up, and he was a fantastic guy. My father loved Billy Graham. But I love Franklin Graham. I think Franklin's been fantastic, and I'm working so hard to adhere to his note to me. I'm working hard on it, Franklin. But if the events of last Saturday make anything clear, it is that every single moment we have on earth is a gift from God. We have to make the most of every day for the people and for the country that we love. The attacker in Pennsylvania wanted to stop our movement, but the truth is the movement has never been about me. It has always been about you. It's your movement. It's the biggest movement in the history of our country by far. Can't be stopped. It can't be stopped. It has always been about the hardworking, patriotic citizens of America. For too long, our nation has settled for too little. We settled for too little. We've given everything to other nations, to other people. You've been told to lower your expectations and to accept less for your families. I am here tonight with the opposite message. Your expectations are not big enough. They're not big enough. It is time to start expecting and demanding the best leadership in the world, leadership that is bold, dynamic, relentless, and fearless. We can do that. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright. But as long as our energies are spent fighting each other, our destiny will remain out of reach, and that's not acceptable. We must instead take that energy and use it to realize our country's true potential and write our own thrilling chapter of the American story. We can do it together. We will unite. We are going to come together, and success will bring us together. It is a story of love, sacrifice, and so many other things. And remember the word, devotion. It's unmatched devotion. Our American ancestors crossed the Delaware, survived the icy winter at Valley Forge, and defeated a mighty empire to establish our cherished republic. They fought so hard, they lost so many. They pushed thousands and thousands of miles across a dangerous frontier, taming the wilderness to build a life and a magnificent home for their family. They packed their families into covered wagons, trekked across hazardous trails, scaled towering mountains, and braved rivers and rapids to stake their claim on the wide open, new, and very beautiful frontier. When our way of life was threatened, American patriots marched onto the battlefield, raced into enemy strongholds, and stared down death and stared down those enemies to keep alive the flame of freedom. At Yorktown, Gettysburg, and Midway, they joined the roll call of immortal heroes. So many just so many heroes, so many great, great people, and we have to cherish those people. We can't forget those people. We have to cherish those people. And building monuments to those great people is a good thing, not a bad thing. They saved our country. No challenge was too much. No hardship was too great. No enemy was too fierce. Together, these patriots soldiered on and endured, and they prevailed because they had faith in each other, faith in their country, and above all, they had faith in their God. Just like our ancestors, we must now come together, rise above past differences. Any disagreements have to be put aside and go forward united as one people, one nation, pledging allegiance to one great, beautiful, I think it's so beautiful, American flag. Tonight I ask for your partnership, for your support, and I am humbly asking for your vote. I want your vote. It's going to make our country great again. Every day I will strive to honor the trust you have placed in me, and I will never, ever let you down. I promise that. I will never let you down. To all of the forgotten men and women who have been neglected, abandoned, and left behind, you will be forgotten no longer. We will press forward, and together we will win, win, win. Win, 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 win. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. No matter what dangers come our way, no matter what obstacles lie in our path, we will keep striving toward our shared and glorious destiny, and we will not fail. We will not fail. Together we will save this country. We will restore the republic, and we will usher in the rich and wonderful tomorrows that our people so truly deserve. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. And quite simply put, we will very quickly make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wisconsin, God bless you. God bless you, Wisconsin, and God bless the United States of America, our great country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, that was great.
I have so many things to say.
Yeah, here we go.
We will get there. First of
We
all,
will.
hello, Stan.
Yeah, we lost one and we picked one up. So
You talk as if they're hobos off the street.
yeah, I know, right? So first of all, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It's late. It's after 11. I don't know what time it is. Here we go. Yeah, it's
Almost
5
midnight.
after 11 Central Time. So clearly after Biden's bedtime.
Twice over.
Twice over. Yeah. Yeah, it was after his bedtime before it began. But we had Eric Ricard. Somebody's on the phone. We had Eric Ricard joining us, and about 20 minutes ago, he said he had to go. I'm not sure why, but that's okay. We had Stan on deck to join us, and we're just glad that he could come in just a little bit early as well. So it was perfect timing for everybody all around. I think we're gonna kill the thing here, so we're gonna just let that fade into an oblivion. There we go.
Wow.
It's gone. Okay. But what a great speech. I think we got we hit all the points there. So today, we're joined by Stan Corbett today. Good friend of ours, one of kind of the Stan has had a lot of influence over Under God Project since its beginning, and so just about the ideation, the creation, the very compact, the way that it works, the strategizing, all this other stuff. There's a lot to talk about with Stan, but great friend of ours, and wanted to thank you for joining the podcast, Stan. And let's start with a quick hello. How are you, man?
Well, I think the audio is working now. Sorry it took so long to get there.
It's okay. It's okay.
Just in time, though. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's right. The party's still going on. Look at all the confetti and balloons and everything, man.
I do not want to be on that cleaning crew.
You're not kidding. It's like be like a Super Bowl cleaning crew. They always talk about how insane and long into the night those things go.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing.
It's gonna be one of those.
Exactly. I'm seeing this about the Republican Party right now. I mean, we've been watching it for the past couple of days. We watched the first day with the kids because we wanted to show them how it works, right, and what the role that parties play. And parties get a bad rap kind of all throughout, but once the campaigns start, once the trail starts going, we got to be like, okay, guys, this is it. Like, this is how we organize our speech. This is how we organize our freedoms. This is how we organize ourselves through the party system. If we want to complain about it after or before, the election season starts, that's fine. But during, this is the way we go. So it was very educational. It's been a lot of fun for the kids to be able to see, especially. And so anyway, while we've been watching it, one of the big themes that I've been noticing about just the entire convention is fun. Everybody's just been having a great time, just a absolute blast.
Yeah, the spirits are definitely high. You can tell they're excited to be there. They're excited to be around everyone who has the same motivations, the same passions, and it's an extreme high. It's like Trump said. He's like, we're gonna miss this. We're gonna hate to go home almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move some of these pictures down so we get the Brady Bunch in here, just right. There we go. But the speech is over. So Stan, what are your initial thoughts, man?
Well, I think it's really just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Jen. I think it is really interesting that, especially with what just happened and the attack on his life, it seems like the spirits are still very high, which is it's kind of a cool thing to, obviously he referenced the seriousness of that in his speech, but it wasn't I feel like he could have gone with this is an example of how dark these days are and how, existential crisis, and it could have been just very doom and gloom, and very kind of more of that divisive kind of message. And instead, it really seemed like the tone was the opposite, where he's like, these attacks are serious and they're happening, but we have a message of hope and of unity, and we're bringing people together, and we can find a lot of common ground, and the people are feeling the sting of the policies, and so we've got hope here in the GOP, and we're going to turn things around. And I thought that was a cool way to kind of like pay homage, obviously, to something that was very serious, but then pivot and not let it dampen the enthusiasm. That was kind of just my overall thought is, I really enjoyed the message of unity and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I thought the bandage spoke for itself. Like every time he turned his head, the bandage was there, just reminding everybody like this man is bulletproof. He's George Washington in 1755. Bullets are not going to stop him. I mean, COVID seems to be, killing the current president. He's out, but in the meantime, the guy who's running, who's done it before, is perfectly healthy, and a bullet's not going to stop him. And so it's, and it wasn't one, it was a series of bullets that whizzed by his face and took a bit of only his ear. We came so close to, we could talk about that for a long time, but at the same time, the bandage is like almost, it was huge, it's like half the size of his head. And that was speaking just as loud, I think, on its own. Then so he didn't have to reference it. So he's like, I got it's right here. Let's talk about. He said that our unity will come through our success. And I thought that was kind of the whole aspect of the message, where I thought was really great. What were your thoughts, sweetheart?
Oh, my thoughts. Oh,
yeah. You're taking notes. So
I am. Yes, I actually have quite a few notes because he touched on so many different things that a lot of us take for granted, I say that and then I'm like, but we're not at the same time, because we're trying to bring those to light, and that's kind of the whole idea.
Right.
I thought it was interesting, going back to what you were saying about his incident. he was like, I'm gonna tell you this story, but I'm only gonna tell it once because it's so painful for me. And I can truly relate to that. You know, anything if you've ever gone through a traumatic event, you're like, I really don't want to relive this again, no matter how many times you want to hear it. But I will this one last time, and I hope you're recording because it's not happening again. You know?
Yeah.
I was unsure kind of why he brought that up, saying like, hey, I don't want to talk about this. But the more I listened, the more I was like, yeah, that's really just kind of his way anyway, to be able to say like, I'm not defined by my weaknesses. I'm not going to talk about it 1,000 times. The more I listened, the more I appreciated it, even though it was, I wasn't sure like what to think about with that. But you know, the more he went on, the more I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially in his personality and in his strength. He didn't want to bring a whole lot of attention to that, you know, to any of those moments any more than was necessary.
No,
so.
And I feel like he brought the emotions that he's carrying personally with him, and I think that's what we were looking for. You know, coming into this, we knew he was very somber. He had an extremely different physical tone to him. And every time you saw him on the camera, you're like, is that the same man? Are you sure? Like, are you sure this is not a body double? He's so different. And that's because he's got this whole new perspective, not just on himself, but I think he's got a new perspective on the nation too. How important he is for the nation, and how important this term is going to be, and how it's going to change everything.
Amen. I think that's very astute. I mean, you can tell that he has got a whole new perspective on himself, on the way that things are going. I mean, that's the vibe that he's carrying. Is a new perspective on what what the nation is going to be, and his new assignment. It's almost kind of like, okay, well, I guess I have to do this now, don't I? Like, this is all right. Here we go.
There's nobody else that can fill those shoes. There's nobody else who can do the job that he can, and everyone knows that, and including himself. And so he's got this huge weight on his shoulders now, and he sees it now. He sees that God is protecting him for this cause.
Yeah.
And that's extremely evident. And I think that's what's weighing so heavily on him, is he's like, okay, now I see it. You know?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's viscerally real now. I mean, I loved I wrote down where he said he's only alive by the grace of Almighty God. I just love that he's recognizing that and calling attention to it. And I don't think that that's just something that's, pandering to the Christian right audience that he knows he has. I think that is something that's very real to him now. In the moments after the shooting, it's wow. God is really, he seems to have appointed me for such a time as this, and it's really, really important what we do with this assignment now. I think that has to be something that you're right, weighing very heavily on him. And but I love that while that is a heavy torch to bear, it's not. It's interesting. It doesn't seem heavy in the way that he carries himself necessarily. He has a gravitas, but he also has a lightness and an enthusiasm to him that's the contrast that I see with Biden, where you see him speak and there is like that weighty, like heaviness, just to like, wow, it looks like he's just like not even enjoying. It looks like he's not even enjoying his job right now, and he wants to do it for 4 more years. Like he just doesn't even look like a person who has that like fire in the belly to even really accomplish the things that he's talking about, and certainly not with any kind of joy and enthusiasm. Whereas Trump really seems to communicate that, and I think that's what people feed off of. energy.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, the whenever I see Joe Biden, I'm just like lazy, entitled, and full of lies. Like I don't see somebody that has light and has truth and has energy and has liberty. I don't see any of those things coming out of him, especially lately with, I mean, and the whole administration seems like that too. Like it's just lazy and entitled and full of just non-truth, just lies entirely. And it's just, you're like, guys, you can see that in the way you were elected, or, you know, change your way in or whatever that is. And then with the way that you know, you're controlling things now, and the way that Jill is going to tell you, oh, you did such a great job, you answered all the questions.
Answered all the questions.
That's sit down, go home,
He's
get
not
off
a
the stage.
4-year-old.
Like this is
ridiculous.
But the thing about that was, I mean, without getting into it too much, the thing about what was so insulting in that moment, where the first lady, a non-elected person, she's not an official anything, you know, she's degrading not just her husband, but the entire executive branch. Everything that America is contained in that person, and you have such a stark difference with Melania Trump, who is full of class, who is full of grace and honor and beauty, and like all, you know, everything. You're like, okay, thank you just for standing there and smiling. Like, and standing there with a gown, you know, and in showing off womanhood, you know, and motherhood. Thank you for that. Because the other thing that we've got going on, you know, standing and getting ready for the G7 summit, like, oh my gosh, please go away. So anyway, what did you think about Melania's presence, I guess?
I thought her smile was electric.
Yeah.
I think every time that she came into the room, it wasn't just the men who were like, oh, she's beautiful. It was all the women and the men. It was everyone in the room. You could just feel the presence of Melania, and you could, I mean, even across the internet, you can feel it. You can feel the light that she's exuding as much as Trump. Like, they are the dynamic duo that should be in that office. I mean, obviously she's not elected into it, but she holds that with such esteem and so much respect. You want her there.
Right.
So I think she was amazing.
Yeah.
To put it nicely.
What were some other things that you took from that? Because I've got some thoughts that I want to share with you, or really some questions I wanted to share with you. But what were some things you wanted to go over?
Well, real quick, I thought it was. Let's see. Let me pull up my notes here. I thought it was interesting, just all the calls for unity. That really seemed to be a pretty consistent theme. Obviously, he was very, he went into detail about the issues that, you know, the border crisis especially, spent a lot of time on that, which I think was smart, and detailed a lot of what he believes the Biden administration is doing wrong, and the disparity between how he was handling it and how Biden's handling it. And so I think, but at the same time, his tone was not fatalistic. And that's kind of the difference, I think. And he even touched on it. He said, let's see, Democrats are the dividers, talking about their political opponents as an enemy of democracy, referring to himself, obviously, but that's something Biden says all the time. And how can you even make the case of bringing the country together when you paint your opponents that way, in such extreme language? So I think that was a really good point. And if Democrats want to unify, they need to drop all the partisan witch hunts now. Thought that was a really great line. I extend a hand of loyalty and friendship to all Americans.
I love that the phraseology that he used right in that line: loyalty and friendship. You know. Yeah. It really it's. I love it too. It evokes like a almost neighborly
community. Just, hey, I'm just someone who notices the things that are going wrong, and I'm here to do something about it. And, here, take my hand and come along with me, and we'll figure this out together, kind of thing.
I don't think I've ever seen him
and
use
along those.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't think I've ever heard him use the word friendship. I mean, I might be wrong, but I just had it, that was one of the things that I was like, there's a change in tone. I mean, I think we're all watching out for the changes, because he, tore his speech up and then rewrote it, and that's in my bucket of one of the things that I didn't expect.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and I think it would make sense if, talking about things that he may have rewritten, if that would be one of those things where, he is pulling in more of that friendly and relational kind of tone to it. I could see that happening. I mean, that's what happens in a tragedy, right? Is you want to draw the people around you closer. And so that does make a lot of sense. And just one other thing along those lines, I thought it was a really fun anecdote talking about the waitress,
the tips
that he and his entourage had, talking about the tip taxes. Yeah. But just that kind of, I think that speaks to the same kind of tone where he's like, look, she's just a working class waitress, but she had a great point, and she's struggling, and for what? Why? Why does this need to be an additional burden that we're placing on?
Yeah.
Are
we going to really pay off our debts, our trillions of dollars worth of debts with this, with tips? Do we really need to do that?
Right.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I love this guy.
Yeah.
This is great. And it goes right to there was a lot of return from the crowd. There was a lot of communication from the crowd, a lot of chants. What were some of the things that stood out to you guys?
The chants, you mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously there was the no tax on tips.
Yeah, it was good.
And I'm trying to make sure I say that correctly. Hard time hearing it correctly. It's fine. It's fine. I love that they changed it from fight to win, because that's ultimately what they're trying to do. Is the fight is the means by which you are to win, and the winning is not just the winning the election. It's winning our nation back. It's winning God as our foundation back. It's winning America as a unifying body. It's not half America. It's all of America, like he said. So win.
Win. I loved in the beginning. Yeah. It was almost like I could see that he was rewriting his the very beginning of his speech, right? And the "yes, you are" moment, right? Did you catch that moment? Right, where he said, "I'm not even supposed to be here," according to this. If he would have gone through it, I'm not even supposed to be here. And the crowd stopped him for 30 seconds, 45. It was a long time, and they just kept saying, "Yes, you are. Yes, you are." And I'm looking for that. We kind of came into the speech thinking, okay, are we gonna have an 1863, Gettysburg Address moment, and or is it just gonna be kind of a flat moment, or is there just gonna be this spiritual awakening? What are we gonna have in total? And realistically, I think I'm getting more indications from the crowd than I really did necessarily from him, or maybe it's even, but regardless, that moment was a very special moment, and you could tell it was even for him. He was I don't know, it just seemed like he was just taking it all in. When everybody just kept saying over and over again, "Yes, you are. I'm not supposed to be here. Yes, you are. Yes, you are." And they just kept saying it over and over again. I loved the.
It was emotional, I think, for him.
I do. Yes, I really think it was emotional for him. It was pretty emotional. I mean, I stopped. I was like, "Wait, what are they saying? Wait, what's going on? Whoa, holy cow!" Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think that the identity that we're seeing is coming from the people, not so much from nice language that he uses. We've had politicians that have held that office that use greater nice language, and he's just more direct. And he does have great speeches. His speechwriter is amazing, and I really do love it when he's able to speak those speeches, because there's a lot more. I think it makes more sense coming from President Trump that way. But in a lot of ways, it's the way that people react to him, and it's the love, the endearment that they have toward him. Because there's even a certain aspect of it. And I'm going to just finish with this, but there's a certain aspect of it where he was a little awkward talking about himself, right? Like, you know, I get it. He likes to talk about his successes, but not necessarily about himself, right? And so he was
I think even he mentioned that. He said, I don't want to sound bombastic,
right? Right. And so he doesn't like talking about like himself, but you know, sometimes about the stories of successes that he's done, which is great. But he's really good at talking about others. And when that moment where he was right after the "Yes, you are" moment, where he was, he just before he started talking about the gentleman that died at the rally.
Corey.
Thank you. He said he kind of reminded me of George Washington, the story of George Washington, where he the country was about to come apart. Those in the military were thinking about revolting against even Congress. And George Washington comes in, and there's a letter that he goes to read. He sits down, he puts glasses on, and he says, "You'll have to excuse me in my old age. Not in my old age. In my eyes have grown weak in the service of my nation." And everybody, and that just quelched everybody's concerns. To see that, one, he was off the cuff; two, that he was being very real; and three, that he had a little bit of vulnerability. And then, you know, he reads the letter quickly and leaves, and that was it. And I saw that a little bit. I don't know. I'm just starting to get this George Washington vibe out of President Trump lately, particularly since, you know, even a bullet couldn't even take him down. So couldn't stop him, which I thought was really. I mean, we're still living that. So, what back and forth did you guys see from the crowd?
I think if I remember correctly, they picked up on the "Drill Baby Drill," which was kind of fun.
Yes. Yes.
A little callback to a few elections ago.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say, what I thought was really interesting about that is he's saying we're going to unite through resolving our problems, right? We're going to unite through our success, and Drill Baby Drill is going to be one of them. We're going to drill. We're going to bring down the cost. You know, massively rising costs. I ended up writing down. You know, there's the some of the notes that I had, just trying to capture certain things, but then there's like my personal notes. I was like, yeah, during the Trump era, we had like more clients than we could deal with. You know, during the Trump era, we were buying things like bacon. We were buying bacon during the Trump administration.
The good old days.
And I had a Costco membership, and I was filling the truck. Like, we were doing things with your money that you're like, wait, what happened to bacon?
Very basic things.
Right. We were buying nice jams of jelly rather than the basic one, you know, like, and the costs are still going up. You know? Like, we could talk about that for a while where you're like, wait a minute, I didn't used to even shop at the same stores that I'm shopping at now. I have trouble affording Aldi sometimes. And you're like, and my costs are still double. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't even like Aldi before. Like, I didn't even like that's. I wouldn't even go to Aldi.
What it was.
Right. I used to, you know, buy nice jams and gel. I haven't shopped at the deli in 5 years. You know, I bought, you know what I mean?
Five
Like
years?
like
It's more
we
like
used to
3
Fresh
years.
sliced meat.
Yeah, like used to buy certain things, and what's happening, I think, is that Americans are you know the what is it, the CPI, the cost price index or something, where it's, you know, you're buying cheaper things. It's like the cereal aisle. You go from the bougie granola, you know, where you're like, oh, I have to be healthy and, you know, eat the bougie granola with the special yogurt, and that's my breakfast in the morning. To now, like,
with the
to then
sprouted
go,
bread. Don't
yeah,
forget
with the sprouted refrigerated bread or something, and then you go to the middle of the cereal aisle, which is, you know, the post shredded wheat whatever, and then to the malto meal, right? Like then you're down to the kitty litter part of the aisle, and your costs are still going up. They're
but
still double, and you're like, no,
Don't you forget, there's another layer to that. There's the value size bag of oh heck knows, you know.
Yeah,
like
well, that's what I was saying. The kitty litter aisle, like the baseline one, where you're like, I'm eating a bag of kitty litter for breakfast, and I'm still putting groceries back, you know. And so anyway, the way that when he was getting into that, for some reason, those are the things that were going through my mind. That I was like, oh my gosh, life has definitely changed so much since, and I probably revealed way too much to you guys, but.
And you know what's hilarious about that is I looked just briefly before hopping on at what CNN was picking up from the debate, and so of course they had their fact checker running, and they had the audacity to label his one of his points on the economy was, they were like, this is incorrect because we actually we saw an uptick in June of 2024 of like a fraction of a percent or something.
Yeah.
You know, it was like,
yeah, we're all feeling that.
The economy is trending upward.
You're right.
What, you know, and
I'm so glad you
like,
told us that, because we would not have known otherwise.
Do you guys remember in the 2016 debate with Hillary Clinton, and she started, like, she exposed the fact checkers, like, during the debate. She was like, the fact checkers are going to do their thing. I think that's when fact checking just went, like, if you're still using that, everybody who looks at Snopes anymore? Like, who's really going to them going, the fact check. Really?
Dude,
like,
Snopes
are you still
is even
doing
wrong
that?
90% of the time.
Well, exactly. Like, are you still doing that? That was before Trump even. You know, are we still in fact checking? You know, CNN.
Yeah.
Get on that boat right
Yeah.
there.
Anyway,
I feel like it's I feel like that's kind of one of those things where the internet era is honestly kind of rendered that a moot point, just because it's like people know what what their own lives are like under their own noses. They don't need you to tell them, and they can see how their friends' lives are going because they can check their Facebook feeds, and we can deduce these things for ourselves. We don't need the elite media to tell us, oh, well, technically, this was the, this index over here says this, so therefore actually the economy's doing great.
But then you've got those people who are like, oh, no, the news said what? Oh, well, you must be right, because I just live in my little bubble, so I'm going to listen to what you're telling me because I don't see past myself. And now you've told me what I need to be looking for. Great, thank you. I will now know that a man is a woman and a woman is a man. There's no confusion there. It's okay.
Exactly. The I think that what
what's
a
man
really,
again?
Crazy.
Yeah, what I've appreciated about the past little while is that Americans are starting to get it, and what's been instinctual, you're just kind of like, I don't, there's certain things you don't need numbers about. Like, if you have to stop and study it, do you really need to it's almost like you're just defending it, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas those numbers used to mean something before, where those numbers used to indicate what you knew what was happening, and those the numbers now just seem to be defending, and you're like, that's not, like, nobody, no, and I just get it, and that's not That's not what's happening, right? And so,
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep.
Well, he went through some other big areas. I think were kind of a lot of the same type of Trump speech rally points, which are great. They're important to really continue to say the Make America Affordable again. That was
He
really
did
awesome.
I feel like we need like a laundry list here of all the things he's like, we will make America this, you know.
Exactly. Energy dominance, the United Auto Workers. I don't know if I've noticed that in the other speeches that he's given recently as he's been stumping around. Of course, he's had lots of gag orders on him over the past little while. However, I thought it was great that we stopped and talked about electric vehicles, the entire auto industry. Exactly. I grew up in around the auto industry in Detroit, and we're here in Nashville. Down the street is the Nissan plant, and so it's a big deal. And that's something that if we're manufacturing in the United States, then we're able to produce our own stuff, like make our own stuff, make our own transportation. And the cost of cars, used and new, like absolutely like out of control, right? Like a used car is third price more than a new car. And you're like, what is going on? Like it's insane.
Totally agree. And one thing that I think is a good thing to note about that, because the left will always come back with that that line of Trump's argument and be like, well, look at your own business policies. You did all kinds of stuff overseas and shipped jobs over to China and things like that. And it's like, well, yeah, because the policies incentivize that and make it to where that's what you have to do. If you want to, keep your profit levels where they need to be as a major corporation in the United States when he was building his businesses. And so his whole point is, I was doing what I needed to do, but that shouldn't be the way that it is.
Right.
We need to change that. And I'm sure he would love to be able to have kept all of his jobs in the United States if it were economical to do so. And so I think that's his whole point, is we want to make that possible. And hey, he's a smart businessman. He's going to do what's best for his business, but as all businesses should, but let's make that actually beneficial to Americans and American workers, and so that doing what's best for your business isn't shipping jobs overseas. Anyways, I think that's an important point to make, because I always see these leftists in the media, and even friends of mine will harp on that, and I'm like, just think about it for 2 seconds. It's a pretty easy thing to debunk, but people, they're just looking for reasons to push back on them at this point, of course.
But, exactly. Yeah. I think I appreciate when Kellyanne Conway comes on certain areas, because she'll just be like, yeah, guys, Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, and we're all kind of getting sick of this. Like, I get it, but come on, when are you going to stop crying about it? Like, we really just want to get on. Can you just move on, please? Are you just going to move on when he's gone? Was that the only time you're going to move on? I loved it when he talked about the chart, like 2.5 minutes on that chart. The damn chart. That was great. He's like, that chart saved my life.
I never actually got to see the chart.
I never got to see the chart,
but it's my favorite chart. I love that chart.
It's like only President Trump could make a chart in a chart in a political speech interesting. And it told the whole story, but of course now it has even more meaning, because he turns his head just a little bit more to see the chart, and it absolutely saves the country. So thank you, chart.
I think we need to like bronze that, not just frame it. I think we need to bronze that thing. Just...
Something. There's divinity in that chart, like the miracle chart.
That's right. We need to anoint it.
Anoint.
Perfect.
Put it in a sacred place.
It's gonna go in everyone's church buildings now.
Right.
It's gonna be a part of the whole ensemble.
You know, I really liked how he, in the end, and this is the part of the speeches that I really look forward to. He starts talking about our heritage, and he comes across, and he goes right from the Mayflower all the way across, and he's not ashamed of it. He doesn't have to twist it, and that's one of the things that I think the left is going to have a really hard time about when it comes to the Democrat convention, where it's just so there's nothing left in there. There's nothing there. There's no ambition. There's no pride in your nation. There's no pride in your history. There's no pride in your heritage, and so it's just what, you know. There's nothing left.
It's empty.
Yeah, it's empty. And so, but the things that President Trump was talking about is not just, you know, the fact that we have something, but we have great things. And, you know, one of the other things that I think, one of the points that I forgot to write down, but it's in there, was that your expectation is not big enough, right? Your expectations are not high enough. Jen and I were just talking about that, about how
I love that.
About how our families need to seek to achieve the virtues, need to seek greater virtues, and avoid these false virtues, right? And for so many years, really, false virtues have been permeating the family, have been permeating our culture, and just all around our nation. You can just see that so many people are excited about really false virtues. And it's been really, it hasn't helped. It hasn't brought us together at all. You know, from a variety of different ways, and we can go on and on about that. But I loved how he brought up that your expectations are just not big enough, and you should expect more from your nation. You should expect more from yourself, from your businesses. Expect more from your leaders, right? But he didn't say it in like an entitlement kind of way. He's not talking about entitlement. He's talking about achieving greatness and expecting that those around you will act and be great. And you shouldn't expect less.
Well, I think it's because our bar has been so lowered over the past couple of years. You were like, oh, well, I guess we shouldn't be expecting this. We should be expecting mediocre.
You answered all the questions. Like that tells the whole story of the Democrat Party, of like what we've been going through for years, where, you know, it was funny. The thing that ran through my mind, like, when I was watching the debate, was I was, 17 years old, like something like that. And I was at a church dance. Okay.
Where is this going?
Just hear it out. Follow it out. Okay. So I'm at this church dance, and Gary, okay.
Oh.
Okay. A friend of my younger brothers. It was a friend of our
Still
family.
Not sure where this is going.
Yeah, hang on a second. He's a football player. The crowd splits, right? And Gary gets in there, and he does this, and he does all the dance moves that, you know, he does the head spin, and all the break dancing and all this other stuff. And then everybody cheers, and it's all great and stuff like that. But then the guy the kid in the wheelchair comes out. Right, and and he just spins, you know, and everybody goes woo, you know, and that's great and all, and you're like, okay, it's a stupid dance, whatever. But of course, who do they give the award to? Right, they give it to the kid in the wheelchair that spins and all that stuff, and that's fine. I'm not mocking that at all, but I just feel like that's what it's been in our nation, and like
because you can't live up to
like that. We're led by this guy who just doesn't know, who doesn't have the capacity to do anything, and we have to pretend to cheer him on. And you're like, please just go home. Please just
it's
like
just
go
sad
home.
At this point, you're like,
you know?
he's getting so old to a point where he's falling apart, and we're letting him continue this circus, this show, or whatever you want to call it. It's falling apart, and we're watching it happen. I feel terrible for him, who's not the greatest of people on earth to begin with, but I feel bad that he has to go through this. He's being forced through this nonsense. Like, just let him go to bed. Like, he's done. He's cooked.
Let him go to bed. Like, seriously, but he won't. He won't
It's such
leave.
malpractice.
Yeah.
Exactly, and nobody's
really
stopping it.
Right, and it's, I don't know.
Yep.
It's probably a bad story to
Do
share.
we want to
but,
talk about abuse here? Like that. This should be filed under abuse.
Well, yeah, and so, but right next to that, and that was the thing, is that when you were looking at the debate, and we can't kind of keep going back and forth, that when you're looking at the debate, you see them side by side, and you're not even seeing Trump even wanting to engage. You're just like, no, like I'm not. We're not even. You're like it's like boxing with a. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, what are you doing here? Like, I can't engage with you. This is just awkward
You're
and
boxing
weird.
a handicapped kid.
Yeah, it's like you're boxing the wrong. Like, what? You know, go home. You know,
And that's a great point because Trump's whole. I was honestly, I know this is turning into debate analysis now, but I was really impressed with Trump's debate performance because that seemed a little bit of a maturation on his part. I remember back in 2016 certainly, but even 2020, I mean his whole brand was being very pointed and personal, personal attacks against his opponents in the debates were commonplace and expected, and that was kind of part of his thing, is branding the opponent and really hitting them where it hurts. And it was so interesting to see that with Biden, where he's like, you know what, this guy doesn't even deserve my best shot. Like,
right?
I would feel bad, you know.
Yeah. And that's really the thing that it really comes right back to what he was saying right now, which is you should expect more. Right? You should expect more from your leaders. You should expect more from your life because it's available to you and we can go out and get it. And that's something that allows me to think, okay, what he's talking about is transcending even his own campaign. These aren't just talking points. People who are running for office don't think like this. They don't talk like this. He's really trying to help, he's really trying to say, like, look, I'm trying to address the heart of America and the heart of our nation. And so expect more because it's available to you. And go get it, right? And ambition.
That felt very classic, JFK, Ronald Reagan. It felt like that very like inspirational and aspirational kind of tone that just very presidential. Would be a good way to put it. And obviously he's as unconventional as they come, but that's one of those kind of classic presidential lines. Even Washington, like you've been talking about, that kind of just big picture, view and statement. I really appreciate. Yeah.
I kind of want to take that and transition back to what we were talking about before. We were talking about our ancestry and our heritage, especially that of our nation, and how people are trying to erase our history and make it this false narrative, right? I love that he said our heritage is our birthright. It's not the stories that we're hearing, because I mean, just like the Bible, you can think that the Bible is just a big story, but you can also know that it's a factual history of what our world, our people, our nation has been through. Yeah. And our heritage for this nation, as he very beautifully and eloquently laid it out, is so full of rich and traditional stories of heroism and strength and bravery. And there's so much that he touched on that, I mean, obviously it could go so much deeper, but I love that he expects us to continue to devote our lives to that. He wants us to remember our heritage. He wants us to create these statues. He doesn't want us tearing them down. He wants us to preserve that history instead of, erasing it.
Absolutely. Well, Stan, it's been great. Do you have any further thoughts you want to share with us before we start a close? I
think we've covered about everything that that I had here that I wanted to touch on. I guess the last thing that I thought was a really cool point was just talking about the military and then pointing out we have a great military.
Mm-hmm.
Our military members are not woke. It's just some of the leaders at the top, which I thought was a great point, because that speaks to, I think it's the same with our schools, where it's, it's easy to talk about, oh, the schools are just, going to hell in a handbasket and all these woke teachers and everything. And it's like, no, there's a lot of hardworking, good intentioned, if you will, teachers out there who are frankly, being dealt the same kind of hand as the rest of us with some of these woke school administrators and school boards and things like that, where it's like they don't want these things to be happening, and our military members the same way. It's just the leadership that's really to blame, and I think that's a great point, because it's easy to paint in the broader brushes, at times, and I think sometimes he's been guilty of that in the past, and some of the more extremist language on the right can go that direction. So I really liked the way that he kind of kept the unifying message of, look, we're all in this together. Our military members are doing the best they can. There's just some problems at the top, and we can all agree on that. So I just thought that was another example of where he was really bringing people together and using very unifying messaging tone in across the speech, in even in some of the little things like that, where it's like he was clearly making a point to bring people together, and I thought that was really cool, because I think he could have used the attack on his life as a moment to really double down on the more divisive side of his tone, and instead he chose to go the other direction and use it as an opportunity to unify, which I think it's the right call personally, but even more than that, I think it's the best thing for America, and an important thing to do too, and politically for those people on the fence who, maybe they're not sure. Well, he just
murky middle.
Just can't stand all the mean tweets, but
middle,
man, he does seem to do a good job.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of things that those kind of people want to see.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing is, as Jen and I have been talking about it for the past couple of days, as you raise your standards of expectations, then you'll really get out of this this pinball of the murky middle, right? John Adams talked about that a lot. He called it the murky middle a lot, where you're kind of in and out and in and out and super nuanced about things, and you're like, at this point you're like, guys, the man was shot in the face. Okay, like what more do you want, right?
Yeah,
he was shot in the face for our nation, right? And so there's really not much more to talk about. So I'm not to say that there's nothing to talk about, but it really boils it down at this point. I don't think, and keep in mind that, like, the thing that I don't want to lose sight of is the fact that that was an absolute miracle, right? God preserving his life, multiple bullets. But at this point, there's a million YouTube videos about the 3D look, about how many bullets and where they were and all that stuff, and they all missed. So God wanted to preserve his life. If for nothing else, to avoid absolute catastrophe, an absolute tragedy, because we don't. So, anyways.
Well, and that kind of brings it back to what he said. And he said, every single moment we have here on earth is a gift from God. I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that how you brought the military and the teachers together, because that's a lot of what we don't see. We don't see the good people who are continuing to stay in their positions and fight against the woke agenda that is being portrayed. They're the ones who are sticking through it. And if they weren't there, this problem would be so much worse. It would be far greater than what it is currently. And it is because of those few at the top that make it seem so much bigger than it is. And thankfully it's not. But it's those who are working hard in the middle or at the bottom who are trying to get their way to the top to make those changes that we really need to be supporting. And unfortunately, there's not as many of them as we could possibly have, thankfully, to DEI. Go DEI.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Well, again, false virtues.
Yeah.
You know, DEI is just full of false. Diversity is not a virtue. Equity, not a virtue. Inclusion, not a virtue. Social justice, not a virtue. These are all false virtues that have just really pulled and tore our nation down. And, you know, we ought not to be there.
Right.
One of the things
I really like the way you put that. That's not to go on that for too long, but I think that's an important point to make. Yeah, it's not just, you know, these aren't just because there's a deception in that, because the other side does really portray those things as virtues, and this is what we need to be striving for, and that's a really important thing to call out, because our founders also founded the nation on some very specific virtues. Read our founding documents; they're in there, and it sure doesn't look like the DEI manifestos that we see. I mean, that language could not be more different, and so I think it's a really important point to make that. When the left talks about, the right's a threat to democracy and constitutional crisis and things like that, it's like, no, you're liars. You don't care about the foundations of our democracy. You don't care about the Constitution. You know, you don't stand for any of those virtues. You have a whole new set of virtues.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly it. I think that, you know, the left evil will take our good nature and manipulate our good nature. They'll thrive, and they'll rely on your tolerance, on your patience, on your good, you know, your good sense of Christian fairness, right? And then twist that to their own set of virtues, and get you to believe in a you know, false virtue. And so, you know, we've been talking about what virtues should I expect from my neighbors. Right. And quite frankly, if it's not a constitutional virtue, I can't expect you to have that. Right. I mean, because, you know, you're going to interpret your own virtues in a variety of different ways. But quite frankly, I should expect a constitutional virtue, Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, because that's what those documents are. We uphold those virtues in law. And to bring it to kind of a different point, I guess, we see that a lot of, from January 6th to President Trump, have been legally vindicated, right? But more than importantly, because they you know, President Trump for sure has submitted himself to all of these court proceedings that have been recently, from the immunity to the documents case to the you know, just all these cases are now completely falling apart because they just don't lead anywhere, right? And he went through all of them, and so he sat in the court, you know, submitted to the gag order, followed the gag order, and one of the things to me that was really interesting is how the Supreme Court or sent back down in their own way. I don't really know all the details, but they basically pushed back on the January 6th detainees, people who have been arrested for January 6th. But over 300 of them were detained for a Sarbanes-Oxley charge. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but when I was working for energy clients, Sarbanes-Oxley was a law that normal people cannot break, Like you and I cannot. I mean, it would have been better for them to charge him with jaywalking because that's something that I can do. But Sarbanes-Oxley was put in place because Enron was manipulating data, manipulating your and my energy trade, manipulating your and my data to affect their energy trading processes, right? And so these are not charges that people can commit. Like you can't break Sarbanes. I can't walk out my door and break Sarbanes-Oxley, right? Like that's only something that a company can do, right? That's like saying, you know, enterprise tax fraud, right? Like that's not something. And yet these people have been detained, and they've been some of them been in solitary confinement. They've submitted to the law, right? And you know, so to see this case being pushed back by the Supreme Court means now they're legally justified, right? So it's like, okay, guys, what virtues can you expect from your neighbors? And if you don't have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as your baseline virtue system, then I don't know what else would you have.
I mean, you can go deeper than that and say they need to be biblically based,
well,
because
course.
that's what our Constitution is founded on.
Well, of course, exactly, and you're gonna and absolutely, I totally agree, because that is what they are. They do come from the Bible, right?
That is our right and our wrong.
Exactly. The Bible is the
standard.
way. Exactly. The Bible is the lens by which we even see what right and wrong is. Right. So that's absolutely true. But even if you're looking at somebody who's completely on the left, who wants nothing to do with anything religious, you're like, okay, fine. Then just how about law, right? You can't charge somebody for walking into a building on Sarbanes-Oxley when that has nothing to do with walking into a building, right? That has to do with how you're manipulating data so that you can get, you know, trade on the energy market. Like that doesn't like. You might as well be breaking stock laws, you know, like how you trade in stocks. Like that has nothing to do with it at all. And so we're so far from that it's like, okay, you got to at least expect the Constitution from your neighbors and drive them to the virtues of the Bible, right? And drive that to, you know, but so anyway, I think I've been a little fired up about that one, but
understandably, and you're totally right. I mean, that kind of brings it home, Jen. Yeah, it comes back to biblical virtues, and so when you look at, well, where does the left get the virtues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and LGBTQ and all of that? Well,
the garbage.
It's because they're not submitting themselves to the authority of Scripture. They're not using that as their guidepost for right and wrong. And so of course they're going to arrive at completely wrong conclusions. And if we have a government in place that celebrates and encourages those wrong conclusions, you know, you're going to, at some point, there's going to be an inflection point, because those are not the virtues that the nation was actually founded on. You know, because we were founded on biblical virtues, and so it's this tug of war that's going on.
And that's exactly why we're falling apart.
I think the tension you see.
Yeah, our threads are tightly wound threads are now becoming loose, and they're falling apart, and we're fraying at the edges. This is so quickly going to just tear. I'm painting this picture in my head, but I don't know. It's coming across weird. I'm getting tired.
Yeah. Well, I think to end, I really appreciated how he went through our heritage from the Mayflower all the way through Eisenhower. He even brought up Eisenhower, which is a big tenet of ours. All the way through Eisenhower, and then saying that building a monument to these people is a good thing. And we have, you know, with the compact is a monument in our own home, guys. Yeah. You know, we were just talking about this before, but the seals that we make, they go on somebody else's compact. And so when we're creating these, so when you create when you do your monument experience, actually, when you do your compact experience, you're creating a monument in your own home, something that can't be torn down, because, you know, again, your neighbor's seal is on yours. your seal is sent out, and your own promises are on yours as well. And it's something that you can pass down from generation to generation. I love how he brought up monuments, because as we create monuments to remember. We create monuments to remember good virtues. We create monuments to remember God, and remember the faith, the courage, the resilience, the tenacity that people have toward what God wants them to do. And so with that, I think it's a really great. Anyway, with that, we really appreciate you joining us, Stan.
Yes, thank you for your time and your talents in helping us create the compact to begin with. So
absolutely,
we wouldn't be here without you.
Absolutely.
Well, I sure appreciate it. It's an honor to be a part of something like that, because I think it really is important in talking about what we just were. It's so easy to forget, the biblical virtues and our nation's founding virtues, and so then, okay, well, what are my personal virtues and where do they come from? I mean, we have to, exactly what you said, Andy, we have to set up those monuments to remember. I think that's so important, and I think people don't focus on it enough. And I think that's why we see this kind of cultural drift, because families aren't really, and not enough parents, I think, sadly, are really taking that initiative to set up those monuments and to be intentional about remembering why we believe what we believe. But with that being said, I think there's a lot of parents and a lot of families out there that would take those opportunities if there were more actual, monuments and opportunities to remember, even physically and tangibly, like the compact is.
Right.
That's why I think it's so important, because you do have to have something, physically to remind yourself. And so I think there's a lot of parents and families out there that will find value in it, and we'll keep reaching them.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got, we've got a small bunch, but we're growing a little bit more. We just announced, we haven't fully put it on the store yet, but I'll share it with you if you'd like to see it. Have you seen the 1863 edition? I don't think I've told you about it, but let me show it to you real quick. So
it's exciting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Let's see. There it is. So the way that
beautiful new birth of freedom. I love
this
it.
Nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and where this is coming from. I was looking for an 1863 Gettysburg Address moment in President Trump's speech today, and I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure if we've landed all there yet or not. But what we've done here is we've taken the words of the compact, and we've put them. You gotta get back to me. Where's my stuff? This one. There we are. We've taken the compact, and we put that right in the middle. And at checkout, as families go and they purchase that one, they're prompted to put in their take a picture of their signature, and so then we'll laser engrave their signature in the bottom part there. So we'll do more with that as we go, but it's the same compact. It's just a different experience than the big one with on paper and the signing and all that stuff. And so I love the different execution and kind of the giving families some options there. I think that's really neat. I like the way that presents, and it's such an impactful sentiment. Yeah. Well, hey, again, thank you for your time, Stan. It's been great to see you again, and great to chat with you. So we'll do something like this real soon.
And we definitely need to have you on as like the sole item of our podcast. So
yes,
we will do that soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's have you on just as a
event.
stand podcast.
Yep.
That'd be great because there's
cast.
so much. A stand cast. Yes.
Stancast. Okay.
Stancast. We're in.
Don't coin me on that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it. I love it. Should we do our send off?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to tell them how we do it?
Okay. So Andy says, "May God bless you," and I say, "May God bless America," and then we all three of us say, "May God bless this American family." How's that sound?
Perfect.
We always trip over it,
Yep,
which is totally
every single
okay.
time.
That's
Don't
how
know
it
why.
goes. So don't feel bad if we do, okay? Because then we hit the outro button.
Okay.
So
We're doing cover up the rest.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet by now or not, but we play producer and this and you know
That's why we don't
conversationalist
edit,
all at the
'cause
same
I'm
time.
like, mm-mm.
So yeah, we don't edit, so we just
Too
go
much.
with it, you know. So let's go. So may God
Raw
bless.
and real, baby.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. May God bless you.
May God bless America,
And
may
may
God bless this American
God bless
family.
this American family.
Every time.
There's
That's
a
the way it
delay.
sounds every
There's
time.
a delay. It's all
There's
good.
a delay. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Good night, Stan.
See y'all.